Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
We watched both Blade Runner movies.
We did.
So did you say you never have seen Blade Runner before?
Nope, never seen Blade Runner in my entire life.
I think I've seen it. I think I saw it when I was young, and then like a bunch of it filtered out over time. Because in particular, when I got to the part with the flailing, bullet-strewn lady, while she's shrieking and weird, like out of sync audio video stuff is happening, like that thing is like burned into my brain.
Oh,
that weird moment. That's like
the harpy call while also bullets.
That's like burned into my brain alongside like the vision of like those red creatures ripping their own heads off in the labyrinth and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's in there somewhere, and that stuck with me for some reason. But yeah, I have not really made a habit of watching Blade Runner, so it was mostly a fresh viewing for me too.
Yeah.
So we watched the old one over the last few days separately, and then we went together to the theater to see the new one. So spoilers for both.
Yeah,
that's what this is. In case you're like somehow out of the loop there. It's been an interesting day seeing these two.
Yeah,
I think I prefer the original over the new one. Which we went into with you not even knowing it was a sequel. You thought it was a remake.
I thought it was a remake.
Until you saw it.
Yeah, until I saw it. Well, until I saw the first one and then watched the next one preceding it for my 5-hour viewing pleasure.
Wow, yeah, you've been... Because you watched it today, so you've been watching Blade Runner for like 5 hours today.
I have, yeah, it's been fantastic.
It's a lot of Blade Runner to get through at once.
Well, I'm fresh with it. I know everything. I am one with the Blade Runner lore. So
Blade Runner is credited as being one of the games that... I just call everything games, and it's a problem. I don't think about the word, and I just say it. It's one of the movies that is credited as kind of taking off with this whole like cyberpunk subgenre.
Yeah,
like there's older stuff like Neuromancer and a bunch of books, but like Blade Runner is like the big movie that contributed to it taking off, which I think it seems to have kind of determined a lot of like the visual elements of that genre that was otherwise mostly in text form.
Yes,
I think that's mostly the case. It was weird watching Blade Runner just because I feel like a lot of its ideas would have been more impactful in the 80s when it was made, but watching it now in 2017, there was definitely like, oh yeah. I mean, I love watching and playing things that's like stories about AI characters and like fake people and like this whole replicant thing, and like the ideas it's playing with are like relatively vanilla now because of how much like Blade Runner has been strip mined for all of its ideas over the last 40 years.
Pretty much, yeah. That was one of the problems I had, where it was like, well, what about the machine, or what about the fake people? I'm like, what about them, man? What question are you going to go for? Are you going to go for the idea of consciousness? Are you going to go for the idea of souls? Are you going to go for the idea... Like, everything has already taken this one small idea of like, but what if we had a perfect copy of life?
Yeah.
But we artificially made it. And it's like, well, what would we do with that? And it's like, everyone else got a piece of that pie, Blade Runner. And I mean, sure, you did it first in the beginning. So in the first Blade Runner makes a lot more sense because it feels a little bit more impactful. Because especially when you think about the time, it's like, that's a weird question to ask yourself. But when you watch this new one, you're kind of like, actually, you actually don't really focus on it in the new one. The new one doesn't really give a shit too much about the difference between human and not human. Like, replicas are not really a thing like they were in Blade Runner, the original. And
something I found a little bit strange in the new one was that they kind of don't even put up like they don't really even put up like a front for the idea that replicants are supposed to be slaves.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes when you're dealing with some sort of crazy dystopian society, you often have like this sense that like the government's right. Like that's not what they like. That's not the conclusion they want you to draw at the end.
Yeah,
that's often the front the movie puts at some point.
The world you see in the beginning is like, this is a world I understand and I accept.
Yeah, and like when you watch the Hunger Games movies, it's all like, look at glorious Pan Am, and you're supposed to like, without being told how to feel, recoil away from their vision of Pan Am.
Yeah.
But in the new Blade Runner movie, the opening credits are like, and the replicants were slaves, and they tried an uprising, and I'm like, okay, so like we're just gonna not even pretend to ever be on the government's or the world's side at any point. Like it instead of showing you why the society was bad, it just tells you it's bad before the movie starts.
And you're talking about I mean, both the new one and the old one do this.
Yeah.
Both of them do the thing where it's like, we built replicas to do slave work.
Strange.
It is. You know what is more strange?
Like I think of how was it Equilibrium? Doesn't Equilibrium pretend that society is great with now that emotions are gone, all of our problems are solved? Yeah. And then Sean Bean's like, no, we've lost something, and then he gets executed.
Well, like the beginning, he does.
That's the beginning of the movie because
literally
Sean Bean, and he dies and everything.
Entire existence is dying. But with Equilibrium, it starts off with this kind of like propaganda movie, where it's like, back in the day, war was really bad, and then we had World War III, and everything got real shitty, and then we decided, no more of that shit, fuck you, and then we just got rid of emotions. And it was like, okay, but you don't see the outcome of that. Like, it does the propaganda doesn't tell you, like, and everyone is happy all the time, forever, and you must accept it. It just says, like, and this is the world without emotions. Okay, well, I guess we'll see how this goes, and you go, like, this world sucks.
Yeah.
But like, Blade Runner doesn't give you that option. It says, like, it's a dystopian world kind of thing. We built these artificial replicas to do things that humans didn't want to do anymore, and then they didn't want to do them anymore because they are
slightly
like humans.
Weird. It feels slightly weird that we never saw any of that.
We never actually see replicas be slaves.
Yeah.
In either movie. In either movie, it never shows them being slaves. It always shows replicas on Earth running from the slavery.
It felt interesting because, like, the first movie is like a weird snapshot in time, the way that it works out.
Yeah.
I kind of buy it, but it feels at times like with the sequels has like a goal where it's trying to expand on the mythology of the original one and show elements you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised we still never really saw like them being slaves. Like, there's a show called Humans that's really fun to watch. That's, of course, ironically not about humans, but as AI robot butlers that live in people's houses, where like the idea is that they are just house servants, like like the Max Hedron AI character from like Ready Player One and stuff like that.
Or like the thing from Black Mirror.
Yeah, like the
little like Google Home like thing that just does everything.
They just take orders, and they're supposed to be like Siri. Yeah. They're supposed to like not feel anything.
Yeah. And
in the show Humans, the trick is that like a handful of like 10 AI robots, androids, gained sentience, and they essentially had like the David Cage, like Detroit, whatever that one was, where that woman that was being torn apart when they realized that she had emotions, and that one like game trailer that never was an actual game.
Oh yeah,
it was realized that they had emotions, but then they just sort of filtered into the rest of the assembly line. Like that's an actual show that happened, even though David Cage's weird game trailer never. I think that's becoming Detroit now, but still never went anywhere. But like, that show goes really well into the idea of like what it can be like to live this weird lie and be a subservient creature and everything. It's slightly odd that Blade Runner never, now in 2 movies, especially with how long the second one is, that they never touch on what it's like to be a machine. We usually just find them just in time for them to get executed.
Well, I think so here's the thing. The second Blade Runner tries to be a little bit better about it because our main protagonist isn't a human.
Yeah.
Our main protagonist this time is a replica.
And we still don't know if...
But they're not a replica that's a slave. They're just doing an honest, regular job.
He's supposed to be subservient, is the point.
Well, he is subservient, but I'm saying like he is just doing a not bad job. He has a pretty cushiony job that humans would want, which is just a police officer, because people do...
Well, he's not a police officer, he's a Blade Runner.
Well, Blade Runner, but you know what I mean.
He's a replicant Blade Runner, so his job is to kill other people like him.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the point is that his job is something that a human did. We watched a human be a Blade Runner.
If he was a human.
If he was a human.
Because we still don't know.
No, he wasn't human.
We still don't know for sure. Basically, the movies are still... Both movies are still up in the air about it.
Oh, well, I thought specifically he was supposed to. That's why they were doing that fluctuation test.
Which test?
Like when he sits in the room in the second movie, when he sits in the room and he like has to repeat the lines. I thought that was to keep him subservient.
That's not the guy from the first movie.
No. Oh, movie. You mean
I'm saying we still don't know if Deckard's human or not.
Oh, okay.
It's still, they specifically play with the idea of whether he's human or not in both movies, and still don't answer the question.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with.
I think that's supposed to be the point, though. Yeah, so that's okay. But the point is that we clearly know that the second character is a replica, and we get to experience life with a known replica. So we get to see what he does when he goes home from his day job, which is be sad. Like just have the saddest life. But saddest life in human terms. Like as a replica, he's got a place to live.
You don't really get much of Deckard being home alone, do you?
No, you show up to Deckard's home and then he's like, I put bombs everywhere. And then he
I mean Deckard's original home. In the first movie, Deckard's home was like a weird like mess pile of like couches and debris around his apartment. Well, it was like but you never spend time in the apartment until somebody else is there. Yeah. He's never really there. Well, he's there alone twice. To enhance.
Well, one is for the enhance. The other time is before the girl shows up. Before Rachel. There we go. There's a lot of people's names I didn't want to remember.
Rachel's the easiest name for me to remember because they said it over and over again in this movie.
Yeah. But Rachel is, until Rachel, like when Rachel's on her way to his house, he's sitting there by himself playing the piano looking like super, super sad. And, like laying on the piano and like, bomb, bomb, bomb. And he's by himself though. But we don't really get a view. The only time we get like the most view is when he comes home after getting his ass kicked. And then you get to see like the area, like the kitchen where he washes himself, and you get to see the bedroom, or you get to see like the living room where he sleeps on the couch, and then you get to see the dining room, which has a piano, and then the kitchen that's in the back.
Big ass apartment, yeah. It's somehow always filmed to look tiny. You know what I mean?
Yes, he has like a really big apartment for a world that theoretically is cram packed. Like everything about the world is.
It feels like Deckard in the first movie. His apartment is like a thrift sales like building.
Yeah,
like that's completely packed with like it's set up for a garage sale, and he's just living in it. Because like it's when you look at the square footage of it, just keeps going and going, but it's somehow completely full, and he looks like he can't move at all. Like he's stepping over his couch for half the camera shots.
It did look like someone was just like, how many props can we put into one scene without it being a risk to the actor? And they just did it. But
it started to remind me of the like the subway station the turtles live in, and the TMNT, where there's like shit everywhere, and you're like, what is this stuff? You guys just find things and put it in here?
Deckard just opens his window and like new shit flies in, and he just closes it, and he's like, perfect.
Can we talk about how Deckard seems to be a terrible Blade Runner?
Deckard is like literally the worst Blade Runner I've ever seen.
Well, and there's not a lot of them either. We've seen two of them, and the other one's better.
But Deckard is just a bad. Even not as a Blade Runner.
The movie sets him up as being like a guy coming out of retirement, and first of all, you're like, isn't Harrison Ford like 30 something in this movie? Like seems a little early to be in retirement, but okay.
Maybe he got the job at 16.
Don't know how this universe works. Maybe everyone's young forever until he's dropped dead, like in the movie In Time. Which surprisingly, by the way, 2 movies in, we still have surprisingly little glimpse into anything about how this world works, aside from how it creates genetic people. We have no idea what the day-to-day life of the city is. They can make fake people and they can make fake animals, but we don't really know what.
But people do work in this world, but they don't at the same time, because we only really ever see the
people that work either on food or making the fake animals,
or like doing weird black market shit. Like the guy was like, "I could tell you where that horse is from." And he's like, "You want a real horse?" And I'm like, "What? No, what? Who? What is your job? What is your actual job?"
At times, it's lacking the Ghost in the Shell, like 2 guys talking in a truck scene.
That's what I was going to point out. Like, the thing I don't like about Blade Runner is I don't feel like I understand where I am, and I don't understand what I am, or what people do in the city, like what happens in the city. Because Blade Runner specifically is like, there are just fucking people in the street 24/7, and I'm like, dude, are you going anywhere? Is there like a destination?
There's a fixation,
and it's like
there's such a fixation on the replicant storyline that kind of works for the first movie because it's the first movie in the franchise, and it's also less than 2 hours long. But then they have another movie that's even longer, and it's still so fully focused on that one plot point that it starts to get weird at some point. The world, I feel like the world should have expanded by now. But to get back to
Deckard, it shrunk, which is like the weirdest part.
To get back to Deckard, it's just like he's set up as being like the most badass slaughterhouse, like obliterator Blade Runner. Like, wow, he's so good at this thing. He's the only one that can do this.
He's so good, we had to call him in out of retirement to take care of a problem.
Yeah, and then in the first movie, he shoots 2 women in the back, and then gets beat up by 2 guys, and then doesn't he accomplishes
he gets
so little?
Beat up so easily. Holy shit! Every time
and he
someone
seems to have terrible judgment, like across the board.
Like anytime Harrison Ford Deckard in first Blade Runner, just Blade Runner, anytime someone threw a swing at him, that was it. He was fucked. He lost that fight.
There's a lot of shots where he's like, oh, that guy, then he draws his gun, and the gun gets gets thrown across the room, and like, come on, man.
Like even like the final scene of Blade Runner where he's fighting the Aryan race. And he's like sitting there and he's trying to shoot the guy through the hole, and he grabs him, breaks his hand, or breaks 2 fingers for some reason, not the whole hand, just 2. He's like, here's this from one person and the other. And then he takes the gun with his other hand, and then
I think that's because he's just toying with him because he didn't plan on killing him.
Yeah, but then the guy runs back to the body, like runs back to the dead girl, and fucking Deckard's just like kind of meandering about. And I was like, Deckard, if you just and the whole time he's counting. The guy's sitting there saying like 4, 5. If you just walked over.
The movie sets it up like he is going to, like Deckard is going to like investigate and hunt down all of these replicants one by one.
It's a film noir, basically.
In the entire movie, he hunts down 1. And it's actually, I was almost a little confused because like
movie doesn't really.
He seems like he's hunting down the main dude.
Yeah.
But then somehow ends up finding the snake lady almost instead.
That's all he finds.
I actually wasn't entirely sure what steps led him there, but I could rewatch and find it.
He did the enhance. He did the enhance. Saw her in the bathtub. Printed out a Polaroid. Went to
that raised some questions
because he also found the scale in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And so he took the scale to the snake guy, and the snake guy was like, "It's not my snake," and then he beat him up. And then he found it was at a nightclub, so he went to the nightclub.
Yeah, there was a whole plot line about the snake scale and everything. Yeah, I was wrong to think that was like. Not
but either way,
clear.
that's the only thing
my
he
head
did
for a moment. But like
once he found the snake girl,
that was genuine investigation that led up to a thing.
Yeah,
and it was the one time he accomplishes something in the movie. Basically,
yep,
is that he investigates. There's a whole plot line for investigating Snake Girl, and then he finds her, takes her down, and then for the rest of the movie, he almost never accomplishes anything.
Well, no, he doesn't have to. Because then after he kills Snake Girl...
What happens is that the guys that are on the loose go out and wipe out everyone they wanted to and completely accomplish... Like, they don't get what they want because what they want is basically impossible, but they accomplished... they got to everyone they wanted to, and no one stopped them at any point along the way. And then once they have, like, a giant trail of blood behind them, Deckard's like, oh, that's where I go. And I'll go to the finale now.
Okay, so in a turn of events, though, he kills Snake Girl. Immediately after killing Snake Girl, the other dude, the original guy who starts the whole thing by shooting the interrogator,
the guy that is in some ways the most developed character in the game, and the movie at that point, and
that guy,
then he gets wiped out.
He shows up to her, he like witnesses her die, and he goes and fights Deckard, and then gets shot in the back, and then immediately after that, it's the only 2 people left is the girl and the guy. And so I don't know how it happened,
they just point a giant beacon at themselves, being like, "We're right here," and they go there. Like he doesn't have to investigate.
He doesn't have to do anything. He just sits in his car, and then he figures out like.
And the entire climax of the movie is Deckard kind of just flailing about and being ineffectual as this guy monologues before he dies, and then he just dies on his own, and Deckard doesn't do anything. Yeah, which is like those are generally good scenes for that other guy, and like that's a fun part of the movie. But I keep getting distracted by the weird behavior of Deckard throughout the entire final scenes.
Even the replicants gave me like weird behavior confusion. Because like
the replicants, I can hand wave a lot of stuff just because they know they're about to die.
Well, yeah, but like the replicant,
so they're just being manic.
I guess
whatever the hell they feel like.
It was just so weird that they killed the guy. They killed Tyrell. What is his name?
Tyrell. The guy that ran Tyrell.
The guy who kills Tyrell, because he's like sitting there having a conversation with him, and he's like 1-to-1, he's talking back and forth about cells and different treatment plans, and the guy goes like, Tyrell just goes like, look fam, we built you as best as we could, dude. Like there's nothing we can do about it. And he goes like, oh, okay. So he just kisses him and then crushes him. Or crushes his eyeballs. And I was like,
yep.
But maybe there's a way because technology got us to you existing, so maybe technology can get us to having replicants live longer. We just need, like, I don't know, a guy smart enough to figure it out that you just killed. Like, maybe...
So I think he knew he was dying, like, right then. Like he was dying?
Yeah, his death was assured.
Yeah, because he dies at the end of the movie, and no one did that to him.
No.
He just dies.
Because his 4 years was up.
Yeah. So like I think at that point he's like, oh, if this guy doesn't have a solution for me, then I guess we're done here.
But why kill him?
Because he does whatever the hell he feels like throughout the entire climax in the movie.
I guess it just bothered me because it's like, why did you even bother then? You could have just left angry. Like, killing him means nothing and does nothing for your cause.
I think he's just this angry, spiteful person that's just going out and
he's just scared of death.
He's just
a
going out
human
in a fury,
scared of
basically.
death.
Yeah. He's going out in a fury because every time they go after anybody, they ask these people the questions in the worst possible way. Because like you could just ask questions.
I love when they ask questions.
They could at least try just asking questions.
Like then they ask questions.
They make it as creepy and interrogatey as possible, and like make it actively like a problem. Like there's the eyeball guy, and then
the eyeball guy is so dumb.
Yeah,
it's so dumb because they rip off his coat, and then he's like, I'm very cold. And he's just like, answer my questions. And he's like, okay. And while he's answering the questions, the other guy is stacking eyeballs on his shoulders.
Creepiest visual.
I was like, what are you doing?
I'm like, I don't,
but the eyeballs disappear.
I'm like, can you guys just ask him questions?
Did
you
you
just
notice
ask him
that?
questions.
The eyeballs are disappearing as he's doing it.
Well, it's because they keep sliding off his shoulders.
No, he like puts one on and he's like trying to hold it on there and it finally stays and he moves to go to the next shoulder. And then it cuts the scene, goes to the next scene. That eyeball's gone. He puts another one on his shoulder. And I was like,
it's not gone. They're literally like, you can watch them like run down his shoulders.
Are
like
they?
They just fall off because it's useless.
It's just like, why
He's
are
just
you...
like being wasteful of eyeballs.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? And he asks questions in the most convoluted way of like, well, you would like to see what these eyes have seen. And it's that's not...
That felt like a weird scene in particular for the guy...
doing?
For the guy that's at the beginning of the movie, which is like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, was the opening interrogation with the replicant.
Yeah, I like that.
And then he's like, I'll tell you about my mother. And he just shoots him in the middle of the interview and stuff like that. Like, there's...
Also, I don't know how he shot him.
There's a weird split where, like, there's him during that scene, and then there's him during the scene where he dies, where he's, like, that character. And then there's the scene with the interrogation with the eyeballs where he almost feels like the Joker's lackey. Yeah. Like, that one... I feel like his actions in that scene almost weirdly like don't line up with his behavior in the other scenes he's in, where he seems like almost the everyman of the Cylons, I almost call him Cylons, of the replicants.
Yeah,
like he's the most regular one.
He's supposed to be just like the regular dude. He's not military. He's not sex worker. I guess that's a classification of replicants.
Yeah.
But like he's just
it's cyberpunk. It's got to be miserable.
Yeah, I guess. But he's like supposed to
be
just
the worst place.
Because like the white-haired guy was like a military replicant, and then the glasses guy was just a slave replicant with glasses. Who the fuck programs a replicant that needs glasses? And then you had the two girls. One was also military or something, and the other one was a sex worker. Oh, no, I think one was a slave and the other one was a sex worker.
I lost track of where we were. What replicant had glasses? Who are you talking about?
The guy getting interviewed.
I don't remember him ever wearing glasses.
I think he wore glasses in one scene.
I don't know. It's not really important.
No, I think he wore glasses.
I don't remember it, though.
I think he wore glasses when he confronted Decker. I think he was wearing glasses to blend in. And I was like, what are you... I was like, this is really weird.
No, I don't know.
I could pull it up.
I don't remember it, but
either case,
this doesn't matter.
But yeah, any case, the point being is that he's like the only middle ground. He's like the only one we've ever seen that's a slave. He's the only slave replicant we've ever met. Because all the other ones are like either sex business or military.
Well, they're all slaves.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? Like actual, like I'm assuming he was going around and like they threw him on a planet. It was like, mine it until it's good. And it was like, okay, I'll make the ecosystem good. Because, like, wasn't that the point? Replicants are there because they keep telling you, like, go off-world! Get the fuck off Earth! Earth sucks! And it's like, alright, well, we'll go. So, like, we never see that.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens in both the first movie and the second movie, is they say, like, is that why you're not off-world? In reference to someone having, like, a health problem.
But, like, nobody is off-world.
I almost feel like I need to do advanced reading to figure out what's happening in the background.
Who is off-world? Because no one leaves. This whole...
We never see the work that the replicants do, and we never see what off-world is like.
Yeah.
Or why you want to go there. And I don't think there's even a text crawl that ever explains what off-world is.
We don't even know how far off-world is.
It's weird.
Because...
It feels weirder in particular because...
I think it's just the solar system. Because the guy makes a comment about it in the second one where he's like, I have 9 planets. And I'm like, 9 planets where? I'm assuming the solar system?
It's one of those things that starts to feel weirder when we transition movies. Because in the first movie, the first movie doesn't even seem even vaguely detail oriented.
Well, I think the first...
It's like a swimmy David Lynch weird ass.
Yeah,
like,
but also the first movie was when off-worlding just started.
Yeah.
So it makes sense no one would leave, because it's still kind of a risky venture.
But they still keep referring to people as in like, oh, is that why you're not off-world and stuff like that?
That's why you're not jumping ship, yeah.
It's just a weird... It's a gap in that the first movie feels like it's not detail oriented, and it feels like you can just swim through the weird surrealist scenes and stuff like that, and just whatever weird, however they want to express stuff. But the second movie feels weirdly more concrete and modern and specifically detail driven. So it starts to get slightly weirder how often they refer to things that we still don't actually understand.
Yeah, I will say
they also keep talking about was it the blackout?
Yeah, the blackout.
Like there's
the blackout,
and no one will explain what it is.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking. We were talking about this after the movie, and then I explained to Keith that there is, and some people might not actually know. I'd be curious how many people genuinely know that the blackout is a thing you can watch, and it's on Crunchyroll, and it's just an animatrix style 15-minute video that explains how the blackout happened. And all it is it's just like 4 or 5 replicants basically drive gas trucks into Tyrell buildings and just blow up. They blow up all the servers that they can manage to during an EMP strike.
Did they ever mention the blackout during the text crawl?
No.
So I think the text crawl just says replicants exist, Tyrell existed, there were revolts, Tyrell's gone, and now there's...
That's what the revolts were.
The new thing.
The revolts were...
I forgot the name of the new one.
Yeah, so what ended up happening... So in Blackout, it explains. So he's just
That's weird that they didn't mention the blackout in the text crawl when they go on to mention it constantly in the movie.
And it's like... So the important part is that what happened was when Tyrell Corporation was going under, basically, when they was going bankrupt, when it's bankrupt and it's going under, there was a whole, worldwide initiative to kill every replicant. Because all the replicants were basically unmanageable now. Tyrell doesn't exist as a corporation. No one can reel in these replicants. So they were going through and killing all of them because Tyrell had all the information on every replicant that lived. And they were using that data to track them down and kill them. So the entire goal was to destroy all the data so that no one could find those replicants anymore, aka the ones that had the baby.
The timeline confuses me, by the way, on what happened and why in parts of the story.
So 2019 is...
So let me ask the question.
Yeah, sorry.
I haven't said what I'm actually confused about.
Sorry.
There's the weird detail of how in the first movie, every replicant we're ever told about has apparently a 4-year lifespan.
Yes.
But then in the second movie, they say that apparently now there's replicants that live longer. Which...
Those aren't Nexus 8s. Nexus 8s are the last, the ones...
But, none of the... whatever you're about to say is, not explained at any point.
No.
It's not...
So the explanation that they give in the movie is that,
me as a layman viewer that doesn't know anything, didn't do any, external reading or anime watching or stuff like that, I'm forced to assume that 4-year lifespan robots that were mad at you killed your boss, so then you made ones that live forever... for some reason after that.
It's explained
because it seems like they got an upgrade after, even though in the first movie their boss gets killed. And I'm like, I don't know.
No. So
I feel like they could have explained something here.
So they did. They did and they didn't. It's the shittiest explanation ever because this movie had the worst text crawl in all history. So in the text crawl, it explains that the guy... So Tyrell Corporation went under. Tyrell Corporation made the last models, which were the Nexus 8s. Not the phones, just the androids. And
that's really distracting, by the way.
It is distracting.
I keep talking about Android phones.
Yeah, the Nexus 8 phone. That's a good phone. Yeah, it only has a 4-year lifespan. That sucks.
What about the Galaxy 6?
A little bit better, long term. They killed
That's the pleasure model.
I mean, they killed Samsung CEO, so they got long life. What ended up happening is when Tyrell Corporation went under, they stopped producing the Nexus 8 series, and when they stopped being produced. Then the new guy came in, Churchill? I don't remember his name. But Windelman, I'm going to call him Windelman. Whittler? I don't remember. What's his name?
I said earlier I couldn't remember. I know it starts with W-I. But I keep thinking of Tyrell Corporation over and over again.
Yeah, because it's it's like an easier name to remember than his name. It's
weirdly reminiscent of how as you go on through... the Alien universe, you stop seeing Wayland Yutani and start seeing somebody else.
Yeah.
and like
that's what I was about to say. So I'm just gonna call him Wayland. So
or like
Wayland,
you stop seeing Umbrella and you start seeing whatever replaced Umbrella in the later Resident Evils. There's a weird thing in sci-fi dystopias where there's like a super corporation that halfway through the series gets replaced by a different super corporation.
But you don't want to remember that one because
it's always hard to remember the second one's name.
So the new corporation that takes over, he started out in bioengineering, doing like art, like basically he saved the world from a famine because all the crops in the world just stopped existing. I don't fucking know. And so, because crops stopped existing, he created a way for crops to exist. And I think through his research to do that, he figured out the way to expand the lifespan of the replicas. So he bought Tyrell.
I'm not sure if that's even true because
that's what they kind of hint at, is that him buying it, and when he made his models,
I don't think the first movie ever makes it concrete that the replicants had to have 4-year lifespans. It seemed like it was put there on purpose to make them not develop emotions.
No, yeah, they explain that. That's what Tyrael explains when he's talking to the guy. He explains
in the first movie they call the 4-year lifespan an insurance policy.
It is an insurance policy.
Like it's intentionally they made them live for 4 years so they don't like Cortana. Basically, like they don't flip out.
So I think I think that was the excuse as to why it was a 4-year lifespan. But the way that Tyrell explained it to the Aryan guy was that it literally is like genetically there's a problem with keeping them like have long-term lifespans without serious side effects. Which I think what he was explaining is that like the 4-year lifespan is an insurance policy in it of itself is saying that like no matter what, replicas can't go past 4 years, so we're safe. Because if they live past 4 years, they'll die. Because their organs just can't sustain that. We can't do anything to keep them biologically functioning more than 4 years, so it's an insurance policy. Because we know for a fact that they will die off. We don't have to worry about them living forever. But I don't think it was
intended. I'm still not entirely sure about that, because that conversation seemed to make it seem like they were talking about ways to fix the 4-year thing in people that already exist.
But this is like a book problem. This is a non-explained. This is probably something in the book. You could probably read about it. There's some kind of thing.
Well, the book is supposed to be so divergent that I don't think it'll answer questions. Well, it'll be a whole separate story, essentially. True. But
I'm saying they may have some kind of knowledge as to why the 4-year thing exists. Maybe they'll explain whether it was intentional or unintentional, at least. But in any case, the idea is, now that these new models that came out from the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, that's not Weyland-Yutani, his models apparently they can just live for either forever or for a limited time.
Because I thought the only reason the new ones live longer is because they could let these ones live longer because they'll stay subservient. Because the opening text crawl says that the new ones obey. That's the whole point they make.
Yeah,
and I think that's the only. I still think they can live for longer than 4 years, and they only had to die after 4 years because they specifically wanted them to die before they developed emotions.
But then they act like the fucking pregnancy thing is a huge mystery. As if it's like, well, you bought Tyrell's entire company. They're like, well, it got lost. Lost in what? Tyrell's company didn't burn to the ground. Like, he just died. And then the guy left. The guy literally didn't like burn his room. You could have just gone on his computer and figured out how he made a fucking impregnable replica. Like, you can figure out how to make them live forever, and you can't make them pregnant, but you also act like, it's just so confusing. Like, you can make them subservient more than Tyrell Corporation could, but you can't figure out this one thing that Tyrell did somehow. Like, he couldn't figure out how to make them obey, but he could certainly make them reproduce, which seems like a harder thing to do in the grand scheme. Yeah,
I'm not really sure what's going on with the reproductive thing.
Reproductive thing sounds way harder to make like a physical thing happen.
It's like they're essentially weird human clones that are powered up in certain ways. That, like, one of the weird things about the replicants going on throughout the series is realizing that they're not like robots, that they are like apparently just people.
They're genetically altered humans.
Yeah,
that's all they are. Yeah,
like so. It seems like they're trying to grapple with the idea in the sequel specifically that now they live longer and everything, like they're just like so indistinguishable from humans that there's no reason to treat them as anything less or anything like that.
But they still do.
Somehow they can't give birth, which is like a weird distinction.
Or they can, but we don't know that they can give birth.
Or only one can.
Because that's the thing we also don't know. Like, are people having sex with these robots on the daily? And is it like does it have to be human and replica
One of the
to make it
slightly
work?
odd
or
leaps between the movies is that the first one is very talkative.
Yes.
With its runtime. The second one is very
quiet.
Yeah, it's a lot of God
damn it.
like
That
nonstop
shit is
synth.
so annoying.
It started to wear on me, and it was weird because like I watched like Drive and Only God Forgives and stuff like that. Like I've actually watched this weird ongoing subgenre people apparently are making, which is movies where Ryan Gosling mostly stares into the middle distance while colorful stuff happens in the background in a artsy movie. Like that's weirdly a reoccurring thing.
AKA easy as fuck paycheck.
And like just to drive into this, like how much Nicholas Winding Refn liked to make this kind of movie. Like his next movie he made was literally called Neon Demon. It didn't feature Ryan Gosling, but boy, if it doesn't have very long scenes of somebody in front of like a glowing pink, purple triangle and mirrors and lasers everywhere.
Sounds very
while
80s.
Not saying anything out loud and
Sounds
stuff like that.
Perfectly 80s.
But like, it was weird seeing like these almost like window like Nicholas Winding Refn like lookalike scenes start happening in this like 2.5 hour movie where surprisingly little happens, but they constantly make room for like shot after shot of like oftentimes like a full minute or more straight of like synth chords playing over a landscape that's either oftentimes blue or orange.
Yeah, very blue or orange.
To the point where they're cutting from blue locations to orange locations at times.
Near the end of the movie, it's very, like, when they're in Vegas, very, like, bright orange.
Vegas is
dark
literally
blue,
orange.
Bright orange, dark blue. And it's like, okay, I get it.
Like the Blade Runner office is very blue, and Vegas is very orange, and they cut directly between them so that the whole screen goes from blue to orange. You're
and
like,
then
oh,
even,
man.
like, in the Blade Runner HQ is orange, and so is Vegas is orange, but then, like, the outside world is blue, and it's like, all right, man, get the colors down. But
so, despite being like noticeably longer than the first movie, the second one strangely gets less details. Out along the way, and there's long stretches of like silence and very slow progression towards things. It's like in both movies, I was kind of surprised by how little happened overall. But the first movie, I just kind of enjoyed myself. Even like I even like the ending and everything like that. Even though I just get distracted by how bizarre Deckard's behavior is throughout the end of the movie. But in the sequel, I'm just like, okay, this is a lot of scenes of just silence and loud blaring synth sounds, and I'm like, I don't. It's a thing where like it specifically reminds me of people's analysis of Michael Bay movies.
Yeah.
Because people analyze how Michael Bay shoots things. Like, he always has the swooping camera and the spinning camera and woo, cameras going everywhere.
Yeah.
And they call it Bayhem. And and I think this was Lindsay Ellis, or it might have been somebody else. I can't look it up right now. But
Shout out.
I think it's come up a few times now across a few different video essays. Just that this idea that like Michael Bay has no restraint, and so he has a problem where he shoots every shot the same way, which is way too much. To the point where they make fun of it regularly in other movies. Like, was it Scott Pilgrim vs. the World? Like, in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Chris Evans is like basically like a parody of a Michael Bay movie, and you can see him playing on like the television when Scott's leaving the room, and he's like in a phone booth while the camera's spinning around him, and stuff like that. Because like that's just how Michael Bay shoots everything. But the problem with Bayhem is that he will do that every scene. So like the big dramatic scene where a major character gets sliced in half by a robot sword or something like that is shot the same way as like two people sitting in a cafe. Like, wow, rapid camera, crazy, what's going on here? So it's like, this movie started to have that problem, where every scene was set up so dramatically with so much synth and slow progressing setup shots, and like everything had such a weird weight to it all the time that like nothing felt like it had weight anymore. Because like every scene was so dramatic that nothing felt dramatic. Like it was by the time you get through 2.5 hours of it, it was like weirdly fatiguing in a way that never happened to me in the first movie.
It is. I did get to a point where I was starting to get fed up with nothing happening.
Like, got to the point where I knew I could take a bathroom break at one point the moment a conversation ended, and I would get back before more dialogue happened.
You took that break, and something happened. Which is like, you picked the one time that nothing happened. Like, you picked the one time where nothing didn't happen, which is impressive. Because, like, the moment you got up, it was like, now we have action. And I was like, Keith, how did you do this? Like, we just sat for 2 hours and nothing was happening.
So I felt safe because every time they finish a conversation, I know that nothing's going to happen for like 3 more minutes.
But then the moment Harrison showed up, it was like, oh, well, the action button, action button, action button. Like, it's so weird.
Oh, by the way, yeah. If you're bizarrely one of those people that watches these without watching the movie, yeah, Harrison Ford is surprisingly, like, not in the second movie very much.
He shows up at the very end, basically. He shows up to be a hostage.
I wish
that's his entire purpose in the movie, is to be a hostage.
Like, I wish the movie hadn't so heavily set up how much he was going to be in it.
I wish that, because
like I was like, it just adds the question of when he's going to show up all the time.
Yeah, I kind of just wish they didn't tell me.
Because like I wish it was just a surprise. They use not phone calls. They use the recordings of the interrogations he did.
They use audio rips from the first movie.
Yeah,
basically.
They used the scenes from the first movie, and for all I knew, if I hadn't seen all the stuff about it already, which I didn't even watch trailers about this movie, but like he's on the cover, like he's on the fucking movie poster as a giant like blue Harrison Ford or something. For all I knew, if I was just watching the movie cold, like, all those audio logs could have been leading up to finding, like, his grave. He could have not been in the movie for all I knew.
He could have been dead.
Knowing in advance that he was going to be in the movie is kind of a bummer, because, like, then you're just waiting 2 hours for him to show up.
I mean, it's also weird, because, like, you don't know... at the end of the first Blade Runner, it kind of doesn't tell you what happens to him, obviously. It just kind of, like, and that's it. You know, so
they both end weirdly abruptly.
Yeah, they both end so abruptly, but like, so you don't know, and you could just very well assume that like he could be dead, or like he could have left off world. Like him being off world would have been more interesting, because then at least somebody I know left.
Somebody actually left Earth and we know about it, as opposed to just this weird illusion.
Yeah, and maybe it even has a scene where it's like they call him from off world. Where like Ryan Gosling gives him calls like, yo, old man, what the fuck? You got a fucking robot pregnant? And he's like, oh, my bad. And you know, it's like,
you got the robot pregnant?
And it's like,
they're not robots, Andrew.
But you know what I mean, though. But it's like, you call him and it's off world, and you can kind of see like a shot of the off world colony or something. I don't know. But regardless of the point is that he shows up, and there's no reason for him to be there, honestly. He doesn't add anything to the movie. Like, realistically, think about what is it that he said at all that added anything to the movie? He just showed up and was like, hey, sometimes to love somebody, you gotta be a stranger, which is supposed to be for the audience to think that he means that he loves Ryan Gosling because Ryan Gosling is supposed to be the kid that was born from the synthetic, or from the replica, but isn't. So then, like, what is your point, Harrison? Why were you here, besides being grumpy and old? Because he just showed up, was grumpy and old, punched a couple of people, specifically Ryan Gosling, a lot.
There's a scene where he just punches him like 7 times in the face.
And Ryan isn't fighting back.
There.
Yeah, Gosling's just taking it. And then Harrison Ford's just doing old man punches at him. And then he gets kidnapped, and he's in handcuffs the entire time. And then once he has a talk with fucking whatever, I don't know, the worst owner of a company I've ever seen. And then
I have myself questioning what the movies are going for and like what their goal is, and I might need to rewatch them a few times to try to figure out the ideas of this, because like there's a weird sense of like not doing anything in these movies.
I thought it was supposed to just be a kind of a very slow kind of real life. What would it be like if you just were a cop?
Like there's moments where it feels like these movies, as like their goal is somehow just to like wallow in the misery of a universe, and that's it. And because like in both movies, the protagonist it kind of feels like they don't do anything.
Well, they don't. Well, I don't know. Ryan actually
in the first
felt
movie,
like he did more. Or Kay. Sorry, Kay.
In the first movie, he unsuccessfully hunts down. He fails to hunt down replicants that are just going to die anyway, and do. And
only one dies by natural causes.
But then in the second one, Ryan Gosling is like hunting for the identity of a child.
Well, no, he's hunting for the identity of what was a child but now is an adult that they have no idea what could possibly look like now.
And there's a weird sense of like not really knowing where it's going to go or how the story's going to advance from there, and then it just cuts off. Like it weirdly feels like we only started setting up what was going to happen and then just stopped.
Yeah. Well, it does reveal the twist at least. Like, you know who the child is.
Yeah.
At least you know.
Both movies end with a very heavy sense of just being unresolved.
Yeah, but they do end without you feeling
I wonder if like the point of these movies is just to
make you ask questions.
Express the hopelessness of the setting.
Maybe.
Because it feels like I don't feel like they're gonna win at the end of either movie. Like I never think like, oh, they'll be fine.
But
like I'm like, this is
there is no winning.
Flailing, right?
There is no winning. That's the thing. I think the entire point is that there is no winning. It's just life is just about going with the flow. Shit happens, and you just kind of got to take the punches and blows and keep going.
I don't think go with the flow is the message of either movie.
Well, no,
they're literally both movies about rebellion.
Well, I'm saying the replicas are rebelling. I'm saying the people, like the Blade Runners themselves, kind of just have to go with it. They just do what they need to do and then just go. Because that's all they do.
Where do we go from here? Do they make a third Blade Runner movie that's also about a Blade Runner that successfully Blade runs once and then questions why he's Blade running and then never Blade runs again while acting against the Blade Runner's purpose? That seems to be like where they go with these.
I just want, you know what? I would rather if it turned into just Blade.
Blade.
How about we just drop the Runner and just make another Blade?
What?
Like, I don't know, do a crossover. Call it Blade/Runner. It's like, oh, it's Blade and Blade Runner mixed together. So now they're vampires since that's replicas.
I don't know what you're doing right. I don't know what you're doing right now, and I'm not going to give you any help. This is all yours.
The point I'm trying to make is that I don't know where this franchise goes. There's nowhere else for it to go at this point, honestly. You can try going the Hunger Games route where it's like, let's follow the Bubble Girl as she does a rebellion with the replicas to allow pregnancy. But like I don't really know what else there is to do besides replicas just being treated like, what, you're just gonna go like this Civil War? At least the
protagonist didn't get all weirdly rapey this time.
Well, because he did get kind of rapey.
When?
I don't know, that time where he like used a prostitute to have sex with a robot.
That's not what rapey means. That's literally like sex working.
It felt kind of weird.
Well, of course it felt weird. It was intentionally supposed to be the most bizarre, uncomfortable thing ever.
But I'm saying like even.
But like in the first movie, Harrison Ford tries to force a woman to kiss him. And then she like runs away crying and tries to go out of his apartment. And then he slams the door shut when she tries to open it. Then slams her against a wall and says, "Tell me you want it." And I'm like, what's happening right now? This is the creepiest. Like,
no, it's
like,
not.
Throughout the whole first movie, I was like, am I supposed to like Harrison Ford or is he the antagonist? Because I like the guy who dies at the end better than the protagonist in the first Blade Runner movie.
It's a good scene. It's just executed poorly.
It's like super uncomfortable.
It's a good scene because the entire crux of the scene is that when he kissed her, she felt something, but she's not supposed to feel anything. She's supposed to be a fucking replicant. And so she gets upset, but then she's upset that she's upset because she's not supposed to be upset and runs to get out. And Harrison Ford is trying to stop her and saying like, just embrace your emotion. It's okay to have emotion. And that's the point he's trying to make. But then they have to do it weird and rapey because it's a man and a woman.
He does it the weirdest way possible.
Like, if it was a guy, if it was another guy, and, like, they were having a drink.
No homo, bro.
No, but if it was, like, another guy and they were having a drink, and and Harrison was just, like, says something, and the guy gets really upset, and then he just, like, gets up and he's like, I gotta go, and Harrison's like, no, don't go. God. Just, like, let it out, man. It's okay. And he just started crying. As somebody who
always wants to ask questions, it always, like, these movies screw with me a bit. Because, like, even with Rachel, there's moments of, like, she's not supposed to know she's a replicant.
She was never supposed to know, but
like, she's supposed to also... Replicants aren't supposed to feel emotions?
Well, yeah, replicants are...
So then how could she be bothered by feeling emotions if she didn't know that she wasn't supposed to feel the emotions until,
she did know at that point.
Yeah, but until then, she had a whole life of either feeling emotions or not feeling emotions.
Well, not a whole life. Jesus, Keith. She had, like, a year.
But, like, she already existed before the revelation, so she would have already known whether or not she was an emotional person or not. It's not like she's like, oh, I'm a replicant, now I'm going to suddenly force myself not to feel emotions. Like, that's not how people deal with that kind of revelation.
Well, okay, here's the thing. We don't actually know when she was made. That's our problem. We have no idea. She just shows up into a room. Or Harrison Ford shows up to a room, and she's there and says, like, don't touch my owl. And he's like, nice owl. And
don't touch my owl.
Like, because they have the owl just sitting there.
Yeah, that's completely accurate recounting of what they said.
It's basically, he shows up, he's like, nice owl, is it real? And she's like, of course not. And he's like, was it expensive? And she's like, I don't know. And or she said yes. She either said it was very expensive or she doesn't know how expensive it was. And then anyways, then the dude shows up, then Tyrell shows up and he's like, hey, I want you to like prove to me this eye test thing works, even though like I had to have had a hand in creating it because they're supposed to detect replicants that I make. So I should know that the eye thing works. But whatever, show me it anyways.
That's not what it was for at all. That's not the point of that scene.
I thought the eye thing was to detect.
No, that's not the point of that scene. He explicitly is trying to beat it.
No, I know, but I'm saying like he acts the way like, well, I want to see a demonstration.
Yeah.
Demonstration of what? The thing you made? Like, you know how it works.
Because he's trying to beat it.
No, I know, but he comes off in such a weird way.
What are you surprised about? I don't understand how you're confused.
I'm not confused. I'm just saying
he explicitly is trying to defeat the test.
But when you see him, you don't know that. Like, you don't realize he's trying to beat it until she starts taking it. And once she starts taking the test, you realize, oh, she's a replicant. That's why he wanted to make him do the test. But before then, he's just being questionable about like, well, I'd rather.
Well, that's the point, is to not hint that the person taking the test is a replicant to further increase the chance of fooling the person taking the test.
Well, I don't mean to explain it to Harrison. I meant the audience goes like, what? Don't you make it? Why are you questioning?
I mean, you're questioning a thing that's explained like 10 seconds later.
That's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is he questions it, he's being weird, and then it moves on to the fact that she takes the thing. We don't know. He just shows up, says, hey, give her the test as a demonstration. She does it, and we don't know anything about her. We have no idea. She just literally came off the fucking factory line. She could have just been born, put some clothes on, and walked into that fucking room. We
know they have a past.
How long has the past?
Because there's an indication that she's been there for a while, just in the way that she behaves generally, but also the fact that does she know she's a replicant? And he says, I think she's beginning to suspect. Which this all indicates passage of time. Like, all of this infers that there's actual history.
But the point I'm saying is, like, is that 6 months, a year, 2 years? Like, how long?
Any amount of time.
Well,
all that matters is that she existed already, so it's not like she's going to suddenly be like, oh, I'm a replicant. I will now be a motionless android.
I'm saying the point
I don't see how the rapey scene liberates her.
No,
she already had emotions.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The point of your question is, like, I don't know how long she's been questioning that. Is she just recently... Because Ryan Gosling also thought he was... he was a replicant, and then he thought he wasn't a replicant because he was having emotions, and then he so you know what I'm saying? Like, then
Ryan Gosling never thought he wasn't a replicant. He just thought he was born from a replicant.
Huh? I thought Ryan Gosling thought he was a replicant in the very beginning.
He always thought he was a replicant.
Yes, I'm saying.
Never stopped.
No, I know, and I'm.
No, you can't say I know. I'm literally countering what you literally said just now.
Okay, so
you said he thought he wasn't a replicant.
The point I'm making is that Ryan Gosling knew he was a replicant, then thought he wasn't.
No.
I thought he
never stopped thinking he was a replicant.
Or what, I thought he was born from a replicant.
Yeah.
Which is why he was having emotions, because you'd technically have to be, I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's no point. No point in explaining it.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's just too much effort.
Is there
the point?
Do you have a point?
Yeah, I do have a point. It's just too much effort. Moving on.
What?
The entire point, the entire idea though is
people are watching this.
Yeah, well,
do you have a point?
Well, every time I try to keep bringing it, it's like interrupted and it's taking too long, and now I feel like I've wasted way too much time.
Well, all the stuff you're saying to set it up has to be right.
The point I'm making is here's the point. The point is that she may have been going through life thinking that the way that she feels is how a normal human feels. She wouldn't know any better. So the point is that her acting that way is because she thinks that she is a person. She thinks she's a person, but she just thinks that that's how people act. She doesn't know any better. So when she starts having these emotions, she realizes, holy shit, this is what emotions are like. I haven't been having emotions. I literally am a replica confirmed because I haven't been having emotions until this moment. And now I'm having emotions. It's scary because I'm not supposed to, which means I'm going to definitely get fucking killed by Blade Runner over here, who I just kissed. And it's like...
Except the test that they put her through is based around emotional responses, and the reason why she's so hard to detect and why it takes way more questions than normal to detect that she's a replicant is because she already had emotions. The very first time we met her. That was the point of the entire scene.
She did not act like she had emotions.
But that was the point of the scene. That's what's explained to you, is that it takes tons of questions to identify her as being a replicant because this emotional response test wasn't flagging her.
Oh.
They also further go into that in the new movie by being all like, oh, she likes him, doesn't she? Based on the owl conversation about how the personal questions are part of like how you, like while the personal questions were happening, like she was like sort of antagonizing him because she liked him. Like, is this a test to see if I'm a replicant or a lesbian and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Like she was being antagonistic throughout the conversation.
I didn't really get...
I don't know. When you ask...
I don't really understand what... like
asking questions about these movies gets me into a weird mess sometimes.
What was the point of that?
I might have to watch them several more times, but I don't want to watch the second one over and over again is the problem.
I don't think you have to.
Because it's so long.
I feel like the second one you can kind of just not...
Like,
you got all the things you needed out of the first one.
When we got out of the second theater, when we got out of the theater for the second movie, I told Andrew that like I was kind of looking for like the bottom corner YouTube thing that plays at like 1.5 times speed.
It's very slow
because it's just
if you
just want to know the story and the characters and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of like, look at this pretty blue and orange thing.
If you cut out all of if you cut out all of the Ryan Gosling staring scenes and just let's take let's take like 30 minutes to fly over a place, then you could probably have a movie that's like about the same length, maybe 2 hours, maybe like almost an hour 30. You could have maybe like an hour.
Like, I like pretty scenes, but like too, usually I feel like the impact should be tied to something.
I don't even remember.
But like, there's so many like large scale scenes of like, look at this. I remember this.
I remember LA looking like shit.
How many times do we fly over LA in the first movie? I remember the opening scene with like the fiery things.
Do you fly over LA in the first movie?
Or whatever it was set. I assume it's LA or whatever.
Was it? Because everyone there spoke Japanese.
I don't know. They're really not the important part of the question.
Were they in Japantown?
That's really not the important part of the question.
Well, you asked how many times we fly over LA in the first movie.
That's really not the location's not really my point.
Oh.
I'm saying like how many like city shots were there in the first movie? I'm trying to remember because like, I remember the opening one where it's like, here's those fire stacks and stuff like that.
That one, and then there's technically 1.5, which is him overlooking the city when he's standing on his balcony.
Because we hit a point in the second movie where it feels like they won't stop.
In the first one, they only showed the overarching of the city. Usually, I think it was a max of 4 times. I think 4 times they did it. 2 of the times that they did it were the ups, where they were looking up at it, not looking down at it. They did a lot of the, they did like the Ghost in the Shell thing, where it's like, we're standing here and we're looking up at the city and you can see things happening in the city. But like, they never did the fly into the shots of the city. They only did it once in the beginning. They did the fly in at the first time, but then he never flies anywhere. Like, Harrison Ford never leaves that city. I don't know what city it is. Doesn't tell you.
They might have told us. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
I think in the beginning,
that's not the point, at least.
Yeah, but it just, you stay in that city. He never flies out of it, never flies over it. He just stays in that city, and the most he's ever done is fly to a different district. He like gets up and flies somewhere else. But he doesn't fly to a different city, he just flies to like, this part of town now, because guys are trying to rip the back of my car off. Like, midgets were ripping his car apart.
I forgot about that scene.
Yeah, they're just like ripping his car apart. He's like, brum, brum, brum. But, in this movie, there's a lot of traveling. There was like, let's go to LA. Let's go back to, where were we? Was that LA? Where was the whole movie taking place at?
I don't know.
Because I remember the LA dump. LA was literally just a trash heap. And then California was like a solar panel farm. But I don't know where the movie took place at. Was it in California?
I assume the whole movie took place in California until they went to Vegas for the location where apparently all the radiation was.
I didn't even know that was Vegas until
because I don't think they tell you at first. They just say that there's only one place with that kind of radiation and stuff like that, and then they go off and then into a desert area, and it becomes apparent that it's like a gambling and drinking area. I'm like, oh, this is Vegas. This makes sense.
Yeah.
That's probably the future at some point.
It's probably the future at some point that Vegas just gets nuked.
Nevada's just a place where, Isn't Nevada a place where actual radiation is just dumped? I think we use it as a nuclear dumping ground. Like,
I don't think you're allowed to.
An
I don't
empty-ass
think you're
area.
like allowed to dump nuclear radiation.
I think that Nevada might actually be where they house like a lot of long-term garbage problems.
I think they house a lot of the radiation in barrels, but they don't dump it. I don't think you can dump radiation.
You know what? That's not really the point. Of
But
what I mean.
but it's the site of like all of our testing. It was like right, it's like, well, not in Vegas, but
Explosive
New
tests.
Mexico.
No, you're not blowing up actual cities.
No.
But the gargantuan emptiness that is the rest of that region.
That whole state is empty. Yeah, it's not much.
It's like 80% of the population's in 2 towns.
Yep.
Reno and Las Vegas.
Yep, and they're on opposite sides of each other. Reno up north and Vegas down south. So that's about it. But in any case, we don't leave the city in the first one. The second one, we leave quite often. We go to Vegas, we go to LA, then we go back to the city, then we go back to LA, and then we go back to the city, then we go to Vegas, and then we go back to the city. And then we're going to Vegas, but then Ryan Gosling interrupts it by becoming a TIE fighter, and then we go back.
Becoming a TIE fighter?
Because he's in the plane.
Right.
He's like, doo-doo-doo, and the one ship's like, ah! It's like, I can't get to the core. And it's like, you gotta do it, Luke. And he's like, turn us
It's interesting
around.
getting a hint at some kind of actual like ship-to-ship combat.
It's weird that they would program that. It's weird that they would put guns on the
I was a little surprised that they actually have weapons, but I guess he's a Blade Runner, so maybe that's the point, is he could hunt down somebody that's trying to flee.
Was he still using his Blade Runner car? Also, he shot the satellite. He like shot his little robot out, but I don't know where it went. When he's chasing them down to do the fire scene, he's like, get out! And he like shoots it, and he's like, something, and he flies off. And then I just never see that robot again. It never shows up to land on top of his car, to go back, and it just never comes back. It's just gone. It just flies away. It doesn't shoot any of the cars down. He just shoots it out, and then shoots the other vehicles down, and then...
We're talking about the drone coming out of the vehicle?
Yeah, the drone that comes... The camera drone.
Which time that it came out are you talking... I don't know what you're complaining about right now.
When he was chasing them down to shoot them down when Harrison Ford was captured, he, like, shot it out of his car. He, like, ejected it, and it came out of the roof, and then it flew off. And then I assumed he was using it as, like, tactical support, but he just never references it again. And
I don't know if I can comment on this one.
And then he lands. It's the boat again. He just lands, and then it's on the roof.
There are a bunch of different scenes where it goes off, but I don't remember.
Well, the 3 scenes that it exists in, mostly. So he has, like, the Vegas scene where he gets out and he says, like, just fucking scan it.
It mostly comes up to scan in the first scene. Was essentially like the cold open of let's see him Blade Runner for the first time and last time in the movie.
Yeah, so that the first time he uses
kills Drax
is as a camera, which is like they still do enhance with it. He's like, he tells it like he tells it quadrants to go to, but he can't tell it to go to quadrants because it's the outside. And the outside doesn't have quadrants. Like,
what are you talking about now?
No, when he has the thing,
I don't know what you were talking about.
In the first scene, he sends it out. He sends out the drone. He comes out, looks at the tree, says like, it's a really old tree. Looks down, sees there's flowers, and goes, that's weird. I guess someone was buried here because flowers equal burial. And so he just like puts it in the bag, and he tells the robot to like go to quadrant, blah blah blah. And the robot just starts hovering over the tree. I was like, how did you signify this quadrant? Did you show up and they like made a map?
I don't remember the exact thing he said in that exact scene, but I remember multiple times where he's like 30 degrees and stuff like that, which is just telling it to like rotate and stuff like that.
He said like he told it to get to the tree, and to get to the tree, he said like a quadrant area, and I was like, what quadrant is the tree in? And then when the tree was looking at it, he was like, there might be
a local grid system that projects around the actual landing site whenever they land somewhere.
Because then, same with the...
I don't see a reason to pick apart any of that. It's completely reasonable that it makes sense.
No, I was just making it say that he did the enhance thing again.
Oh, yeah.
Like the drone was the new enhance. Because he does it in Vegas, too, where he's like...
The enhance...
7, 8,
The enhance
9.
thing really fucks with me in the first movie.
Yeah.
Because, like... In the second movie, there's like a weird, like, it seems like they're like X-ray visioning underground to see like a thing.
They did X-ray vision.
Yeah. Like the second one, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're scanning and they're just showing it visually. Yeah. In the first movie, it's one of those things where like, because it's a sci-fi universe where there's no fish out of water protagonist, nobody explains anything. Yeah. And one of the moments of that in the first movie is like, there's essentially a Polaroid picture with like, that's a weird picture of a room. Hey, computer, magically show me what's behind stuff in this picture. I'm like, excuse me?
He shoves it in his DVD player.
Yeah, and then they scan around behind stuff and go into another room and then through a mirror and then behind another object and then take a picture of that and print that. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, he zooms into the mirror and then shifts the photo over, which then shows a reflection of a girl in a tub, which he then zooms in on, sees she has a tattoo, and then prints out what appears to be like the shittiest quality Polaroid ever taken. Even though it's a weird
experience because like it keeps zooming in and zooming in. And I'm like, okay, so we're like mathematically extrapolating what what it probably looks like visually or something like that. Like I can kind of buy some really like spiffy, impressive AI like trying to make up visuals essentially.
Sure,
but there's a part where it's I believe it pans sideways to look around something.
It does. It pans to look around. Because the thing is
in the way.
Well, because the wall.
Also, he zooms in on the girl and then prints a picture of the girl that looks different.
Yes.
Like the picture of that prints out is from a different angle than the one that was in the photo. I'm like, are these Harry Potter paintings where like they're like sentient and can walk around? Like I don't.
The ones in 2 were.
Yeah, did you notice
in 2 they had the countdown timer going, and I was like, what's that?
In the second movie, he has like what looks like those physical, not Polaroids, but those like 16:9 looking like
4:6
prints you would get as like in normal life,
like a Walgreens,
all the way down to having like shitty like red text on it, like some of the bad ones would have sometimes. But then you realize the red text is like ticking, and you're like, wait a minute, this thing's a display.
Yeah,
this seems like wasteful technology.
Well, everything in that world is wasteful technology. Did you not notice that there's like, okay, you know what? Here's a good point. It's a side point, but I want to make it. Nudity in the first Blade Runner. There was 2 scenes?
Was there nudity in the first Blade Runner?
Yes. When the girl is getting changed, the snake girl.
Is it on-screen nudity though, or just suggested nudity?
Nope,
because like I remember naked shoulders and stuff.
You see her titties. I remember that.
I don't remember.
When she's getting dressed and she pulls up her boots, she's standing there at a sideways angle. The camera's sitting right here looking directly at her from the side angle, and she pulls up her first boot and it kind of blocks her boob. And then she does the next one. The second one's definitely
like, this woman's naked, this woman's naked. Here's a giantess naked hologram.
The second one just kept...
Here's an entire hallway of like 8 naked statues.
Yeah, the second one kept shoving nudity, and I was like, okay, look. It felt natural in the first one because like, whatever, it's like a dystopian kind of world, but this one's more like, look, we can put tits wherever we want. And I was like, oh, I get it. That's great. Just could you not?
I think it speaks to my earlier point about the second movie where it feels like it's a little too visually motivated.
It is,
like, it's like visuals.
I do agree with that.
The intention, which I'm not necessarily against.
A beautiful movie
when you have
a great,
complicated sci-fi universe where I'm trying to understand what's happening, I can't help but wish time was spent on details.
Yeah, I wish less time was spent on giant naked statues.
Yeah, there's a lot of naked people.
There's like
and
6
naked statues, naked holograms.
And they had nipples. You spent the time to put nipples on a statue, but you can't just explain stuff in the plot to me.
And then scenes of like, here's a woman being born as a fully formed adult replicant woman, and she's naked, and then we stab her to death, and then we leave. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Also, say hello to Jared Leto.
God, that fucking character's
Jared
awful.
Leto's back.
That character's so bad.
He's
like the worst character in that entire franchise.
Jared Leto?
Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared Leto's interesting.
Not as the actor. Like, I'm just saying the character he plays is like the worst character. Yeah, I don't know if it's him or not.
Honestly, I think Jared Leto's fine as an actor.
Yeah.
He's generally bad in bad movies.
Some people get mad at him because of the Joker thing, but I'm not making that point. I'm making the point that the character he represented...
That's a boring argument. That's when people went after Ben Affleck for being in Daredevil. And it's like, he didn't make Daredevil a bad movie.
It's just Ben Affleck, man. Leave him alone.
Yeah, Daredevil was bad on its own. He just happened to be in it.
Ben Affleck didn't ruin Daredevil. Daredevil ruined Daredevil.
Kind of.
But anyways, the point is,
Colin Farrell didn't ruin Daredevil either. He's actually like the best part. Remember that time when he's like, "This lady's snoring. I'm gonna murder her with a peanut." It's the best scene in the movie.
God damn it! But the point is that the character Jared Leto plays, which is supposed to be the Wayland Yutani, or whatever his real name is, the guy who runs the corporation.
He speaks entirely in irritating metaphor and megalomaniacal speaking,
but he doesn't. At the same time,
all he ever talks about is his desire to
be God,
make 1 billion slaves to make society better.
He wanted 1 trillion because he said first we have 1 million, then we have 1 trillion, then we have 1 billion, and I was like, oh, 1 billion's a big number. You can count.
How good of an idea is his plan, really? he wants to make an entire race of slaves, but it's like, don't you need to feed all those people?
No, the
like,
replicants.
No,
silly.
you have to feed them though.
Yeah, you can make more.
I feel like making all of your artificial people is kind of like a bad plan.
No, I think
because like all these fleshy people like then have to be fed and housed.
Well, remember
and stuff like that,
his entire motivation is to conquer the galaxy.
I feel like the iRobot approach is just more efficient.
It is, but
make a bunch of robots.
He wants to create a mass amount of synthetics or replicants so he can take over more planets.
Also, calling them Nexuses would be funnier if they were robots, because then they would all be like, check out our new iPerson.
God,
our iPerson 7.2, 7S.
But it's the
it's like, oh, I was born a 7S and I'll never be better.
My battery life is terrible. It's so sad because he's just such a shit character, and I can't even like, I'm not even mad at him for what he does in the movie. I'm just kind of like, I feel like coddling him. Like, I'm so sorry that you just don't have good character. Like, you don't have good character development, and you just keep saying things, and the things you keep saying mean nothing to everyone.
He's like a weird proxy villain in a way.
I thought the girl was the villain for the longest time, and then he like kind of, when he shows up.
You mean the girl that works for him, right? Yeah.
Because the moment
she's a fun villain.
She was interesting.
She has scenes that are amusing from moment to moment.
Yeah.
Like, I like how mercilessly and abruptly she just murders that dude.
Oh, yeah.
In the morgue, it's like, holy shit, that escalated, and that looks like a horrible death.
Also, I thought it was like kind of odd. Like, I don't know.
Like,
I thought the motivation behind killing him was a little bit much. You could have knocked him out. I mean, killing him doesn't really do much. Also, they knew you took the bones anyway, so killing him literally did nothing.
I think she's just a dick.
I think so.
but it's. I almost feel like the movie could, like... But I'm about to say the movie could have been tighter for the 500th time.
Could have been tighter.
Another way it could have been tighter possibly would have been if she just was the villain.
I think she should have been.
But then I guess when you're talking about cyberpunk, it always has to be like a mega corporation with some asshole running it, and then enforcers that actually do all the shit is kind of the issue.
I guess, but he's barely even in it.
Which is interestingly not a thing that happens in the first movie.
No.
Like, I kind of liked how in the second movie it feels like the villain is like, he seems to be secure, as in physically safe. I mean,
yeah.
Because in the first movie, it was really weird how like the guys that run this mega company, like, they just take an elevator up there and just kill them, and it's like there's no security. I'm like,
okay.
Huh.
In fairness, I don't know how they got to the elevator. So I guess they did have to pass the
There's
lobby.
no guards along the way, as far as I can tell.
And I guess maybe those guards don't know who to look out for.
They don't check for weapons or.
Well, he didn't have weapons. He killed them with his hands.
Or they don't even have to clarify like who's on the elevator.
It's a building. They did that. The elevator stops on the building. And then it calls.
Yeah, but they don't verify who else is on the elevator.
No,
that's how primitive the security system is.
Yeah, he does seem really concerned that a friend came with him.
He's like, Ace to Bishop Queen. Fuck, that's not. That didn't make any sense. But like, he just says chess shit, and they do that on the pretense that he's the only one on the elevator.
Yeah,
and then they just go up like, I brought friends, by the way, and they kill him. And I'm like, aren't you important? That seemed easy.
You know what's the thing?
They just got in.
You know what's another thing I kind of missed is I like the visual that all these what's it called? All the replicants in the first movie. All the replicants, anytime they were like in the dark, they always had like a square. They always had like square eyes. You ever notice that they turned like they're either red like the owl did? Like they showed the owl a lot of times that had like the red eye with the kind of like a bright iris.
They like to do the thing where they get the eye, a light at the exact angle that it reflects around the inside of your iris into the camera, so your eye glows from the inside. Your eye
glows, and they did that a lot in the first movie, and I was like, oh, that's kind of nifty, because you can, like, visually tell they're replicas. That's kind of cool. The second movie's like, everyone's a replica. Oh, okay. I guess. You never see anybody with a weird eye, except for the guy with the Megacorp, who can't fix his own fucking eyes. He has cataracts all up in that shit, and he doesn't do anything about it.
Who are we talking about now?
Jared Leto.
Oh, right.
He shows up and he's got like the worst eyes imaginable. I think he's literally blind.
Well, yeah, the point is that he's blind.
And he's
I assume that that's not like cataracts, but like literally like he was blinded by something.
And even if he was,
maybe he was blinded in the blackout.
Just get new eyes.
It is surprising that Jared Leto doesn't seem to be able to get any kind of implant or new eyes.
He has an implant on the back of his neck that allows him to attach robots. I'm saying
like it's surprising he can't get just new eyes easily because like it's weird that like this series is oddly obsessed with eyes.
Yes,
and I think they must have been going for some kind of metaphor as opposed to actually. And that's one of the things that bugs me sometimes. Is like I think.
He might be blind with ambition.
I think that at times. Or even most of the time, I think this franchise cares more about some kind of background meaning over what necessarily makes sense.
It would rather show you...
Because they're obsessed with eyes and they're obsessed with steam.
Yeah.
Like, there's an ongoing... Like, to the point where it's like... There's a blue milk scene, essentially, where... Like, for those who don't know, when it was either I think it was Rogue One, it might have been Force Awakens, where, like, people are like, oh my god, blue milk! And I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And you have to go back and realize, like, oh, apparently there was, like, blue milk in, like, the first Star Wars movie once upon a time, and that's just a nod people make to try to make it feel to the hardcore fans that this is, like, a legit sequel. Is when Rogue One or Force Unleashed has that.
That was the hint.
And so, like,
not the fact calling it Star Wars.
So, like, in the original Blade Runner, there's constantly steam in the background and boiling things. Like, here's the egg boiler and a bunch of other things. And so it felt so on the nose and almost pointless that, like, in the opening scene of the new movie, they also open with, like, oh, someone put a kettle on. Like, there's a weird emphasis on that.
They put the kettle on. You know what was another weird thing? Was that, I don't know, they just, like, the whole smokestack world is just gone and replaced with, like, still a not clean world, but they were just like, but let's just remove all the smokestacks and put solar panels. Yeah. And I was like,
they transitioned to solar over the last 30 years. That's the one progress they made.
Huge solar. I think like half of California is just solar panels. It was weird.
It was a big visual. It seems to indicate it does feel like they're trying to indicate that over the last 30 years the society's progressed in some way, but I was disappointed by that kind of.
Yeah. Like, I wanted it to get worse.
I was kind of hoping for a Star Wars-y type thing where, like, it somehow is always shitty looking.
Yeah.
Like, Star Wars...
Well, it still was shitty looking.
All the good Star Wars movies look dirty. Like, and that's not why they look good, but that's just a thing that they have in common. And the prequels were so, like, serene.
Because they always took place in places, like, nice places.
Like, I think of the clone facility. I'm like, wow, this place is just white everywhere. Yeah. And it's like, unfortunately... That's what modern sci-fi often looks like. Everything's so sleek and clean, and it makes every sci-fi movie look the same, kind of.
At least they did the aliens thing. I appreciate that they kept the, like, kind of retro future technology, where, like, the screens still look like poopy butts.
And when they went on the streets, oftentimes it looked sufficiently like not great.
No.
But then whenever you're inside of a building, I'm like, oh, this is. I don't like how this is clean. I'm like, you know, this is cyberpunk, right? I don't want clean cyberpunk.
Even some of the outside shots looked way cleaner. Like the room, like the area where they were all, like, where he was sitting at the table for some reason publicly, like, looking at very important case files, and the hooker goes and talks to him. That area was very clean. Like, you got the kind of back shot where people are, like, doing, I don't know, are they playing, like, Whammy or something? They're, like, slapping wall pieces and then food comes out? I don't know what the fuck was going on.
Was it a literal Skinner's box?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. They, like, some person was like, it was like, had a picture and a person was like, buy Slurpee drinks. And he's like, bruh, and he presses it and, like, a Slurpee drink comes out. It's like, how do you even register? Who's paying for this? Like, yeah, but who's paying for this? How do you know what they ordered? Who did, like, it's, any case, that kind of looked dirty, but the rest of it was, they also kind of did the Ghost in the Shell thing. A little bit where they kind of got a little too
like that was
much.
The gap between the two Ghost in the Shell movies is that the movie, the animated one is like, oh, this place, like, ugh. Like,
yeah,
because Ghost in the Shell feels like
a real lived-in city.
And I assume the timeline works out this way too, as far as when they were made. Like, Ghost in the Shell feels directly inspired by the movie Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I assume that it came out years later. Wasn't it late 80s?
Ghost in the Shell was later.
Blade Runner
80s.
Was 82.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think Ghost in the Shell was 88?
Because Ghost in the Shell feels like directly inspired by the Blade Runner movie, to the point where it feels like it's more inspired by Blade Runner than at times the sequel to Blade Runner is. Because the sequel to Blade Runner just often feels like the movie Oblivion, for example.
Oh, no.
Cruise.
Ghost in the Shell came out in 1995.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well over 10 years later.
Yeah.
Almost as old as Electric Sheep was when Blade Runner was made.
Well, that was just the movie, though. I think the manga came out 1989. Yeah. So the manga came out in 1989, inspired by Blade Runner most likely, and then the movie came out in 95, which by then Blade Runner was a well-established box office failure cult hit. So, which I don't know. I honestly think I would think this Blade Runner will do sufficient, but I don't think it will be a stunner at the box office. It just is so long and so boring for too much.
And I liked the mystery.
I actually
liked the mystery of, like, is he the son or not?
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm like, dude, you're, like... They were being really vague with it in the very specifically nuanced way that I liked. Because, like, even he wasn't being stupid. He's not every young adult novel fucking protagonist that's like, oh my god, that's my destiny, I'm clinging to this immediately. Like,
he didn't cling to it. He like tried to deny it a lot.
Like, he doesn't even come out and say to Harrison Ford that he's his son ever, does he?
No. Like, no, he never acknowledges it. The only time
asks him about his child.
Yeah. The only time he acknowledges
he's trying to fish it out.
He only acknowledges it at when he talks to the girl.
And by the end, it turns out he's wrong.
Yeah. And the girl, the girl looks at, because he looks at her and he says, like, she? And she looks at, and he doesn't even say anything. He doesn't say, oh, I'm not the chosen one. He just sits. He just sits there and says, like, and questions the word she. Yeah. And then she looks at him and goes, oh, you thought you were the one.
Like, that entire storyline was great.
Yes, fantastic. I loved it.
It's just packaged in a movie that I'm like, oh my goodness, we're doing this right now.
That's the point I want to make, is that in the first...
I like both movies, but I just like the first one more.
There's a thing about... So with, like, Blade Runner, both Blade Runners, actually, I like the beginning more than I like the ends of them. I don't really like the end of Blade Runner movies. I thought the end of the first one kind of felt a little... like, kind of, like, it handed all this shit to Harrison Ford for no reason.
For me, it felt... Like, I had an issue where it felt like in the entire second half of the first Blade Runner movie, the movie almost didn't know what to do with the protagonist.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it felt...
Like, the protagonist is the only character for, like, half the movie. Like, they don't even introduce Rutger Hauer for, like, half the movie.
No.
And for a while at least, and then he's barely in the movie in the first.
I think he shows up in like the second act,
but then once Rutger Hauer reaches Tyrell, shit, which is, by the way, Tyrell is one of the villain characters in Mr. Robot, talking about things that are probably inspired in some ways by Blade Runner.
No.
It's not a movie about taking down mega corporations or anything. There's nothing cyberpunk about this hacker drama.
It's unique and beautiful.
That's got to be on purpose. That's got to be on purpose.
God damn.
The fucking Fight Club reference movie. All right,
but
geez, I lost track.
Once he shows up,
once he reaches Tyrell, it feels like the rest of the movie they almost don't know what to do with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford just gets stuff handed to him.
He doesn't seem to have any real agency, and he's kind of just flailing around uselessly.
Yeah.
He's about as effective as Neo is when Neo first gets ripped out of the Matrix, and he's like a floppy squid puncture man. And he's just like laying on the ground like, oh, how do I walk?
It is weird, because he even shows up to the room and goes inside of that room.
He has a gun.
The
entire climax, he has a gun, and I'm like, what are you doing?
But he shows up into that room... And there's like a bunch of replicas, and his first reaction is to just put his face into all of them. And I'm like, what are you doing? Aren't you specifically looking for replicas? Maybe not put your face in unknown replicas, because they might assault you like the other two have already.
But everything keeps working out for him, and he keeps getting his gun again, and then he makes mistakes again.
Yes.
Like, he deals with the lady that's kind. It's kind of fun how she's pretending to be a toy in a house full of weird toys.
She just sits there for a second.
But he falls for that. And then gets lucky in shooting her when she's doing a way too elaborate way of attacking him, basically.
Yeah.
So then he's like, okay, that worked out. I got the gun again. Then Rutger Hauer gets him, and immediately it's like, Rutger Hauer, he doesn't have a gun.
Yes.
And this is a giant mansion full of open spaces, and you immediately are like standing next to like walls he can punch through. And it's like, you're supposed to be the best Blade Runner, right? Because you seem to be really bad at knowing what replicants can do and what to avoid.
And he knows it's a military replicant, so it's like really strong, capable of combat.
Like all the most basic stuff I've heard about clearing rooms and stuff like that, about how police work in real life. Like, none of that seems to apply to this guy. He's like,
he's not a cop. He's a
seems to
Blade
have
Runner.
no idea how to fight against these guys or how to deal with a gun, dealing with clearing rooms and finding a guy. But then Rutger Hauer's like, okay, you're an idiot and I broke your fingers and you fell for that. What's wrong with you? And then he gives his gun back. He gives his gun back.
I'm so mad.
And then his response is then, like, Rutger Hauer runs off and starts counting.
Well, he says, he's gonna
give you a head start.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy, so I'll give you a head start. And just says, like, I'll give you a couple seconds head start and just says, like, 1, 2.
So this guy basically has 3 options. One, actually, like 4 options. One, probably the smartest thing, fucking go for the actual entrance of the building and try to leave.
Yeah.
2, he could hunt down the dude and shoot him because he has a gun.
Yep.
3, he can hunker down in a corner on an exterior corner of the building where the guy can't sneak up on him, and also don't stand too close to the corner itself, and just fucking have clear line of sight and shoot the dude when he comes after you. But no, he takes option 4, which is awkwardly climb up a bunch of bookshelves, and then even though the movie keeps showing him, the movie like keeps establishing over and over again that he has this like pistol holster on his hip.
Yeah.
And he doesn't use that. Instead, he tries to climb this rainy, like rotted wood bookshelf, like because apparently that's the most efficient way to go up that he can find. While holding his gun in his hand, and then he drops it, and he's just like, ah, fuck. And then he just keeps climbing, and then he doesn't have the gun for the rest of the movie. I'm like, what the fuck? Were you trained by anybody? Because you make the most confusing decisions in this movie.
I mean,
He then desperately climbs up a building for a very long time. And just to add to the weird feeling of how he keeps getting handed everything, he basically almost kills himself by jumping from building to building, gets saved by Rutger Hauer, then Rutger Hauer just dies for him, and then the weird origami guy that basically almost could just not be in the movie because of how little he seems to get developed throughout the movie.
He just shows up to
be like, pity she won't live or whatever, and then just throws the gun to him. Like, you went and got his gun? What were you doing this whole time? Were you watching? Like, what is your role in this?
His role is to watch, to make sure it gets done.
Like,
but he does make an appearance in the new Blade Runner.
Why doesn't he have a partner? Like, why doesn't the Blade Runner have a partner? That seems like the safest decision ever. The idea that this guy's watching as a third party, like...
I think because Harrison Ford didn't want to have someone share screen time with him.
It's one of those things where, like, it's the point isn't even entirely whether or not you can explain the moments. It's just how surreal it is to watch it.
Yeah,
the sequence.
Well, I mean, no Blade Runners have partners.
Like the way
Ryan Gosling doesn't have a partner.
Shows up the moment the Rutger Hauer dies of natural causes, and then he's like, just throws the gun to him. I'm like, what the fuck? When did you get there?
Yeah.
I feel like he's dreaming. Like, for the entire last chunk of the movie, it feels like the Blade Runner is dreaming.
It does feel like everything goes exactly the way he hopes it would.
Yeah.
As, like, any rational person would dream. Where it's like, my gun gets taken, but he gives it back to me.
Yeah, you keep
like,
almost waiting for something more sinister to happen. Like, I was thinking that the guy that was there to kill him.
Yeah, I thought so, too. I thought it was going to be like a cover job, where it's like no one can know.
I thought that they get Blade Runners... I thought they were getting replicants to kill other replicants, and then they were going to kill the replicant afterwards before he realizes that he's a replicant.
Oh, like kind of like a Total Recall thing?
Yeah, I thought that was the whole scheme. But then he's like, here's your gun. I'm leaving the movie now. I'm like, why were you...
He just taps his cane and flies away.
I was like, did you need to be in this movie?
His only existence is to summon Harrison Ford to come meet the police chief.
Yeah, like I was confused why he kept he grabs him at the beginning of the movie. He's like, I'm eating. It's like, no.
By the way, do you know what he's eating?
What?
A bowl of noodles.
Yeah,
that's it.
Food sucks in the future.
He literally didn't order. No, I think he specifically was trying to order something. He said 4 of them, and I said, you wanted 4 bowls of noodles? Just noodles? Nothing else in the noodles?
No, I think he was trying to order something else, and the guy just wasn't understanding him. So he's like, oh, fuck it.
But he does, because he immediately says to Harrison Ford, he's here to arrest you. I was like, you speak English, you piece of shit. I was like, what the hell?
He might just be an asshole. Yeah, I was confused why the origami guy kept showing up a little bit, because like he
showed up in the second one.
Yeah, but like he gets Harrison Ford at the beginning of the movie. And then for the rest of the movies, he's just like, he keeps awkwardly standing off the side and folding origami. And then he says the one foreboding thing at the end.
Well, he gets him again. He gets him a second time. Because he gets Harrison Ford the first time. Then he gets him the second time after he kills Snake Girl. And he says, like, go talk to the guy. Or Bruce. He says, like, go to Bruce. And he goes to Bruce.
I think I might be right. I think he is there to kill Harrison Ford, but then decides not to. Because the main reason why I think Harrison Ford is a replicant is because of the fact that, like, he has that weird vision about a unicorn. And then the other guy folds a unicorn and leaves that in front of his house, and he never actually talked to anybody about that. So like I think the fact that he folds a unicorn is him telling him that his memory is fake.
Oh, okay.
Like I think that's the point of the origami unicorn.
It might be. That's a good. So
analysis. I think at the end of the movie, he's just deciding not to kill him. That's why he's weirdly convenient there, but doesn't do anything.
Maybe because he's also a replicant.
Who the fuck knows at some point?
Who isn't a replicant?
Because that's something that's actually set up in the movie is when they talk about like the spiders that come out and consume the mother.
Yeah,
like that false dream. Like it's actually the memory of his niece, Tyrell's niece. So that sets up the idea of like, oh, what's this weird unicorn thing? And then like the other person knows about the unicorn without him telling anyone. That sets up the idea that it's a false memory.
So did you know that the girl was the real child before the reveal?
Did I know that dream person was the real one?
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it at the time, but it was a sort of a clever reveal, realizing why she was crying when the memory was displayed.
That's what gave it away for me.
So you picked up on it immediately.
I picked up on it immediately because when she was crying, I said like
the moment they replayed it, I was like, I probably should have picked up on that. What I thought.
When she was watching it and she cried, I was like, it's not a sad memory. Why are you crying? And I thought to myself,
I think my first thought was that she cried because of the genuineness of it versus being like essentially a crafted painting.
But that's what I'm saying. It wasn't.
But she was crying because it was hers.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. Is like it didn't feel it. Even if it was a false memory, it didn't feel like it didn't feel like a sad one. It felt like this weird.
That's actually something I wanted to bring up. Is that that was the one flashback that was really good because it recontextualizes something in a meaningful way.
Yeah,
like flashing back to her crying and then saying the line that like all of the best ones have the artist in them.
Yes.
Like that was actually like, oh shit, that's a good flashback.
Yeah.
But that movie has like 20 flashbacks that are pointless.
Yeah.
To the point, especially with the Drax at the beginning of the movie is all like, have you ever seen a real miracle?
Was that
with your
Drax?
own eyes? Yeah, that's Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I knew it was, but I was like, I don't know because he's not in makeup.
It's why you it's why you recognize him, but you're not used to recognizing him.
Yes.
It's because he's not really in
his voice.
He's in like no movies. Practically.
I recognize his voice, so I was like, that sounds like Drax. And I looked at him, I was like, I guess he looks like Drax. He's kind of big.
It's because I think historically he's not an actor; he's a wrestler.
Yeah, he's a wrestler.
But then he just showed up in Guardians, and now he's in this. And all of a sudden, I'm like, that's Drax from Guardians. Hello.
Technically, wrestling's acting.
It is acting, but a different kind of acting.
It's very physical.
But he's
acting.
a surprisingly good actor at this. He's turning out.
He's good at doing roles that don't require him to be like anything beyond like strong and stoic, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that.
He's good at being weirdly emotional and vulnerable as this big muscle man. Which is part of how Guardians 2 works.
But you know what I mean? Like he's not like Chris Pratt level, where he's not like on that part where he's gonna be like cracking jokes like hey and like being the kind of the popular poster boy.
No,
he's very good at being like
he's good at being the joke.
Yeah, he's good at being
knowingly being the joke in a really good way. He doesn't tell jokes necessarily.
But regardless,
it's like they cut to him saying that like 5 times.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, I get it. Like I get it that like a replicant having a baby when they're not supposed to is a miracle, and I think we're going for like a Jesus thing a little bit here, but like. You
didn't get that when the guy was saying like an angel can't walk into the
seriously like 5 times in the movie it cuts back to him saying that you haven't witnessed a miracle, and I'm like, okay, I was here. This isn't like a TV series. Like it's not like I'm not coming back next week for the next 40 minutes.
I didn't miss this episode.
I've been sitting here the whole time. You don't need to tell me over and over again about the miracle.
So there's 2 hints that give it away that the girl is in fact not, or is in fact the person. One of them is when she cries. The second one is when she says the line, it's illegal to use real memories. The moment she said it's illegal to use real memories, I realized, because they were hiding, and the only person that if they were hiding and they're Nexus 8s, then the only way that they would do that would be what they did with Rachel, which is the fake memories. Because the fake memories are the best way to do it ever. And that would only exist back in a time before it was illegal, which is when the baby was born. So that's the only method they would have to, like.
I like how,
but it didn't impact the story. Like it didn't ruin anything.
For like I think a good like 20 minutes, I think they let you wallow in a very long time in the idea of Ryan Gosling being the baby without actually saying it.
Yes,
like they eventually, finally, the AI is like, I told you were special and stuff like that. But like for a very long time, they're just putting the evidence forward and not ever actually saying what the evidence means.
Yeah, they don't acknowledge
respect
anything.
you enough to understand it.
Yeah.
Especially thinking in terms of like how old does Ryan Gosling look to you? Oh, maybe about I don't know, like 30 or something. You know, like the time between the two movies. Like he might be about the same age as the duration of the two movies.
He was or something. Actually, because he's the boy.
Psych, he's not.
He was.
Boom. That's still. I'm not entirely clear on that still.
He was the replica of her, but male.
I'm still like that was a little ambiguous.
Yeah,
where I couldn't tell.
That's why he has the same memories as her, because he's just a 1-to-1 copy, except but boy.
Like, is he the boy, or is he just a frustratingly similar character that it was all coincidences? Well, and they just happen to have the same memory.
They couldn't. That's the thing, because if he was made by the corporation, then he can't have real life memories.
Yeah.
He would have had memories made by her. So I think he's supposed to be the boy.
I think there's still a possible read for the movie where you say that the boy never existed and it was like a red herring distraction to throw off the scent of who they were.
Well, they said the boy was dead.
Yeah.
Or no, they said the girl was dead.
Yeah, they said the girl was dead.
The girl was dead and the boy
real,
survived.
And then they reversed that. And he could be the boy, or he could also just be somebody that was frustratingly similar and who's trying to find meaning in his life. Because they even pointed that.
How's he know the horse?
That horse might have been in more circulation than the thought. Because because you have the issue where like her response, the one-eyed lady, which at the time before about like the fixation on eyes that I never really expanded on, was like the idea like the first movie had the eye creation guy as a main character that they interrogate at one point, and then the second movie has a woman with one eye and a guy with no eyes, and so on and so forth. And a guy who dies with his eyes like turning into blood or something like that. But the resistance leader's response is that we all wish it was us. It's like, oh, you thought it was you wish it was you. We all wish it was us. Like that seems to indicate that maybe he was just totally just in his desire to find meaning in his life. He was just sort of projecting all of this onto him because it was convenient to think that he was this important person.
Maybe, I don't know, because it's like, you know,
much like the whether or not Resident. It's like the thing of like whether or not Harrison Ford's a replicant in the first movie. Like I think it's kind of intentionally vague. It's
one of those like you go home, ask yourself these questions, and then you know, maybe come back and watch it again. Please, we need money.
But anyway, we've been rambling for a while.
We have been rambling
about time to close it out. You think?
So yeah. So
closing thoughts.
My closing thought is I think Blade Runner is worth watching. I think both movies are worth watching, giving it a...
But I think the Blade Runner first movie might be more worth rewatching.
Yes, but I think you might... I think it'd be more entertaining to watch Blade Runner, the original, multiple times versus Blade Runner 2049 probably is, or 2045 is probably better on like probably 0.5 or like 1.5, maybe 2 times speed. Would probably be a little bit more fun. Or if you can find someone who might chop it down to the bits that are important. Like, all the AI portions cut out, and all the, like, I don't really care about this love story between the AI, stuff like that. That was all kind of, like, filler to me. I don't care about the...
Part of me almost wonders, like, what would happen if, like, Blade Runner was re-edited by, like, David Fincher or something? what different direction the same footage would go in? I mean, it's
beautifully shot. That's
beautifully
the point.
Shot. It's just that it's too psyched about how beautifully shot it is.
Also, the only thing I fucking hate too is I hate the only thing I hate about Blade Runner 1. God damn it! The only thing I hate about Blade Runner 1 is a scene where they're playing the piano, and the fucking movie soundtrack is louder than the piano, and I can't hear the song that she's playing on the piano. And I was like, come on. Just lower the damn soundtrack music.
I think in the edit, yeah, like I think I remember something weird happening. I think it was in the first Blade Runner, yeah, where somebody starts playing a piano.
She does. Rachel's playing the piano.
But they only start playing the piano for like 3 seconds.
Yes.
And then immediately cuts away to different audio. I'm like, why was that? What was that choice made for?
It's the soundtrack, because it lowers it when she starts playing it. You can still kind of hear that soundtrack, but then she goes like, dun, dun, dun,
really
dun, and then it's like, bum, 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 but she's still playing the piano, and I was like, did you fuck up? And
that was in the final cut, too.
Was it in the final cut?
Yeah, where they go over it. I watched the final cut.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, I watched
the regular.
I went out and I went to Dimple Records, got for $5 the final cut, because they just had new ones, and I'm like, yeah, sure.
Or the fucking torrented it.
I just watched it. And even in the final cut, it's weird. Like she's playing, and then the music cuts her off, and I'm like,
why did that? I hate that. I don't.
It's a weird choice to have like
that's the only thing that upset me.
A scene where someone's going to play the piano in the background of a scene and then cut it off with the other soundtrack.
Especially because like the beginning of the second one played the importance of the piano, because he had the piano was in that guy's house. It was the one key that Harrison Ford was typing on in Blade Runner. It's that key.
Now that we're talking about the piano, I'm a little disappointed again about the
baby socks,
the blue milk.
Oh,
it's just the
just like baby sock.
Well, I mean the piano as blue milk, and the boiling water as blue milk.
There was two pianos actually, two blue milks, because there was the one in that guy's house and one in the casino, and the one in the casino had the music on it.
I'm not overly fond of this trend where a sci-fi universe gets a sequel made by somebody else that didn't work on the original series, and then they like do this weird like sort of like nerd culture like cinematic universe equivalent of like virtue signaling almost.
Yeah.
Of like, see, it's like the original. Check out Sabak. And like our movie has Sabak in it. Is it real Star Wars yet? Like it is weird to see like, oh look, boiling water. Oh look, pianos again.
It's because people are really dumb.
Oh look, noodles again.
Look, noodles again.
Like there's a
look, boobs again. That was in the first one, right? I mean, boobs are the signifier. They are the blue milk that tells me this is the Blade Runner movie.
We didn't talk about the one. If the biggest thing that bothered me about the entire new movie was the pacing and the wall.
I think my favorites are the quiet ones.
The second most annoying, the ones that sound like weird guttural sounds.
No, the ones where you're sitting there and Ryan Gosling's looking out and there's and you're like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm paying attention, theater. I'm here.
But we didn't mention product placement.
Keith, did you understand?
Sony and Atari and Sony and Pan America.
Okay, well now you're getting confused. So Atari's in the first one. Sony is in the second one.
Atari was in this one.
Atari's in the second one?
Yeah.
I didn't see Atari in the second one.
There's a part of the movie where Atari is on the entire screen.
Is it? I saw Atari in the first one.
The first...
Which I thought was a joke, because I was like, ooh, you probably should have put a dead company in your sci-fi movie.
No, Atari is still around because someone buys the company every time it dies.
But they don't have signs.
every time they die, somebody buys the name again. But
did you know Coca-Cola?
So the first one that stood out to me was that there was the Sony sign where it's like, Sony... Japanese Sony.
That was so annoying. That's on somebody's house.
Yeah, it's just flashing that in like different parts of the building over and over again.
Flashing it on someone's apartment building.
They show that right before they go into an office.
Yeah.
I think after they leave that office, there's a down camera shot that goes through a street, and they look. The camera itself is staying still, and you see I think you see the vehicle go through the frame to show that they're moving and everything.
Yeah.
But the building that you're looking down is just a giant Atari logo covering the entire screen.
Yeah.
It was covering the entire... There's a full screen Atari logo.
Yeah.
And then every time somebody goes to a computer monitor, there's a Sony logo on it. Like there's more and more Sony logos on it. Like everyone's device is a Sony device in this universe. There was a fucking
Sony on the goddamn record player. I was like, get out of here, Sony. You have never made a record player in your life. Don't try to lie to me. You did not make this record player.
And then there was parts where an entire wall would be logos, and some of them might be fake and might not be, but you definitely keep recognizing the Coke one for sure.
The Coke one, God.
There's Coca-Cola ones everywhere,
and some of them didn't fit.
And there was an
that drove me nuts. Did you notice
around
that?
the time the first Sony Atari stuff started showing up, there was a scene of a vehicle. Like a boat in it was a dark shot of an establishing shot, and there was a boat going across the bottom of the screen, and on the top of it was a giant glowing Pan America sign.
Yeah.
It was Pan Am.
Yeah, it was Pan Am, that's right.
There's a lot of product placement in this movie. It is very much a modern Sony movie, and Sony is both heavy on product placement and heavy on like blatant product placement.
Do they have problems?
I don't know, but you see the name Sony a lot.
But do they have
and you hear it spoken aloud.
Do they have like money problems? Like, do they really need money to make this movie work? Because that's a lot of ads. It's a lot of advertising. The first Blade Runner pissed me off the most, though. Because they have, like, the New York-style buildings where they're trying to, like, make you feel like it's New York. They have the big old billboards. They have fucking Coke ads running. In the first Blade Runner, they have Coke ads.
Yeah.
The Coke ads don't fit in the screen that they chose to put the Coke ad in. It cuts off the Coca-Cola logo. It just says Cola. But then you can see it's the Coca-Cola logo because it says, like, have a Coke. and then it says like Coca-Cola, and I'm like, what the? It's a square fucking image.
I think I managed to miss that. I wonder if it was playing into the environment better than the second one did, where it was literally full screen advertisements.
It was trying to make it look like a billboard, but there was a scene where he walks into a building and like the building is at a weird angle, and right at that angle it's a full billboard and it says like try Coca-Cola, and I was like, I'm not going to. No. Like,
brought to you by Sony.
It's Sony. Advertisement sucks. But Sony does it best.
God, that person lives in a house where it just says Sony over and over again.
Saying.
It doesn't just flash the text on the screen backwards into their window. It says Sony out loud.
It does.
It speaks Sony.
You know what?
Sony.
You know what's even more insulting is that Sony designed that. Sony specifically wanted people to know they were assholes enough to flash that sign on people's homes.
I don't know if Sony is self-aware enough to know that they're the villain in that movie.
They are the villain.
Like,
they made everything.
Cyberpunk is about anti-establishment and anti-corporation. So advertising yourself heavily in that is making you look like the parts of the society that's bad, that leads to like the sexual slavery and all the horrible things that happen in these movies and settings. Like, you don't want to be product placement in a Cyberpunk movie or game or whatever. Like, the corporations are the villains in all of those movies. That's the point.
What if they said like a... What if they said like they had a line that said like, replicas are made to do off-world mining and slaves, brought to you by Sony. Like Sony pays for the slaves to go out to the off-world
with
colony.
Just no self-awareness of what they're like, how horrible it is.
I feel like Sony would do it. Do it, Sony. Pay for slaves. That's the best part you could get. That's the top tier advertisement.
I just love the giant Atari logo. It's like, these reduced property values of these apartments brought to you by Atari.
And Sony.
They have to charge you less for these rooms because it's just a constant spotlight pointing directly into it.
I will still never be not concerned that there's just a giant naked woman on an advertisement standing at a bridge. And she talks to people.
Like, I know how to make you happy, big boy.
Yeah, she tells people they're lonely. That's fucked up. Like,
on a bridge.
Yeah. Like, what a terrible advertisement. It's saying,
Aren't
like,
you sad and lonely, man, walking across a bridge?
And it's a low bridge. He could just jump off.
Yeah.
Like, there's not like a really
not
high...
the most sensitive location to push into people's depressions.
And she points at them. She's like, you're lonely.
And then she walks away like, I can fix your problems, and she walks away.
But she can't, because she's fake.
Yeah.
She's not even a replica. She's not
like,
a sex doll.
She's saying like, I can fix your problems, as in like you're supposed to buy the AI program that Ryan Gosling was using all movie. But then she like walks away from the ledge and like almost like is like trying to
come with
gesture
me
towards you. It's like, this is like, is this supposed to be like weird twisted suicide symbol?
Yeah,
symbolism?
I think he was.
I
think he was supposed to be hallucinating.
He even pulls out a gun when that ends.
Yeah,
like that scene ends and he pulls out a gun and looks at it almost like are we?
No, because he does the
thing.
Are we
going for suicide?
Because then it goes. It says
for?
a line where it's like, sometimes dying for a cause is most human of all. And I was like, yes, no.
Have you heard about the really bad edit of Blade Runner?
The really bad edit?
Because there's a bunch of different edits of it.
Wait, what? How many edits are there?
A lot.
How do you edit a movie that many times?
One of the worst ones.
Is there a Suicide Squad version?
I'll try to track it down to show you at some point. But one of the worst edits of Blade Runner, and it might have been the theatrical one.
That
or
makes
one of the
sense.
theatrical ones. Is that they had voiceovers. So like whenever like when Harrison Ford is sitting at like the noodle shop at the beginning of the movie and stuff like that, there'll be like voiceovers of Harrison Ford talking about his washed up life and stuff like that, like setting up the scene. And not only does it break all of the setup by constantly jabbering over these scenes that explain themselves perfectly well on their own, but it's also like the Harrison Ford voiceover problem of like, part-time.
Oh my god, I was about to say, is it please be like the unsympathetic?
That's why I had to bring it up, because I know that you love that line of like the weird misuse of part-time in Crystal Skull.
God.
You're a professor? Part-time. You're a professor? Part-time.
Part-time.
That's the one they went with. Okay, sure. Why not? Yeah, so it's like really badly performed, bored-sounding Harrison Ford.
That's fantastic.
Like before he was famous for being the bored, curmudgeonly piece of shit that doesn't want to be in the movies he's in.
Just
like he was like that all the way back in Blade Runner when they made him do voiceovers for the entire movie.
I would watch...
Noticeably absent from the final cut.
I would definitely watch that. Just to hear that, where he's just like, I was standing at the booth waiting for some noodles. Part-time. If he just doesn't care doing it, fantastic. Anyways, I already explained how I feel. How do you feel about
final thoughts? I think the first Blade Runner is really neat, generally, but its impact was lost for me a bit by being exposed to the genre too much before really revisiting it at an adult age where I'd remember it properly.
So Keith hates Blade Runner.
So like it was,
you could be angry at him.
It was a cool looking movie, but like there's also I'm so confused by Harrison Ford for the last third of the movie. But it's a neat movie. It's just like I've delved deeper into the horrors of cyberpunk concepts more since then.
Horrors.
Well, part of it is that like there's cyberpunk video games now.
There's
like full on cyberpunk. You're talking about
like Observer and stuff like that,
or like the Shadowrun games. Even
Shadowrun's
there's a bunch of cyberpunk fiction that goes way further, and also because it doesn't have to appeal to a mass audience of stuff.
There's
like
a lot of them.
It doesn't have to appeal to a mass movie-going audience specifically.
Yeah,
it'll go way darker.
Yeah,
with a lot of the stuff,
it'll make you uncomfortable.
So like Observer. Interestingly, was a movie like a game, or if you guys haven't heard this, there's a game called Observer.
It's on his channel.
It's on Steam and stuff like that, or you can play it too. It's actually got Rutger Hauer in it. Rutger Hauer, the guy that plays the final, I almost said Cylon again, replicant at the end of the first Blade Runner movie, is the main character you play as for the entire game.
Is that who he is?
Yeah.
God, he sounds like shit now.
Oh, he's old. He's an old man. He was in Hobo with a Shotgun. That was also Rutger Hauer. He's done some weird shit over the years.
That's a little bit of a jump.
There's a movie where he's a blind kung fu artist that beats up people in the 80s.
That's not as odd.
He's got some weird movies. But like that whole game is exploring dark ass shit and a bunch of sci-fi concepts. So watching all of Blade Runner for 2 hours and having like one sci-fi concept processed basically is kind of like tame.
It feels very vanilla, but you also have to accept the audience it is made for, which are vanilla people who don't experience like this kind of genre very often, if at all. I don't know the last time I saw.
But what redeems the first Blade Runner for me, it doesn't need to be redeemed for the fact that other people took it shit. But the thing that sold me on it more was one. The visual concreteness of its setting was really cool to wallow in, like this world where like one of the people that changed the world is in this weird like run down like flooded ass piece of shit abandoned building and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like these kinds of things, and then also the characters, because it's actually like a relatively character driven movie.
Yeah, that's true.
The second movie kind of dwelled on like it treated both those things differently. One. The second movie did do some strange, interesting things with sci-fi concepts, and then it starts dealing with like this AI character, and how do you deal with like becoming romantically interested in this weird AI character in a way that I think might be dealt with like by movies like
AI falling in love with AI.
I'm thinking like Ex Machina and and Her and stuff like that.
It's like synthetic human falling in love with artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
so it's like a fake person falling in love with a faker person?
It's like a clone person.
Well, she says that.
Falling in love with a completely not real person.
She makes the comment.
By having sex with another clone person.
Yeah, but she makes that comment where she says, because he's looking through the DNA.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, you guys have 3 letters. And he's like...
You got 4 letters. Come on.
Or you get 4
know how many are in DNA.
Sorry.
Like, you have 4 and I only have 2.
Yeah, I only
ones
have 2.
And zeros.
Yeah.
But the new sci-fi concepts dealt with in the new movie felt extraneous as opposed to part of the plot.
Yes.
Because while the sci-fi concepts in the first movie were kind of rote by modern standards, which is not fair but true, the new movie had more interesting things to delve into, but they were irrelevant to the main story, and they'd get discarded before long.
Yeah.
Like the entire plotline of like, I have a girl that's my love interest character, like all of that is excuses to explore sci-fi concepts, but then she just gets killed. And that doesn't actually affect the story in any way.
It doesn't.
Because she's weirdly like a weird B story somebody just thought up or something.
Did you see that scene? I don't remember what point you arrived back in.
Where she gets stomped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw that. What scene did you walk? I think you showed up. Did you show up right when Harrison Ford tried locking Ryan Gosling out?
I think I missed that. I literally just came in and there was like vehicles coming in through the wall to arrest Harrison Ford and beat up Ryan Gosling, basically.
Before that scene, he runs down the stairs. Harrison Ford runs down the stairs to get to his car to just ditch Ryan Gosling because he brought bad guys. And he closes the door, locks it, runs, and Ryan Gosling just hulks through the wall. He just runs through the wall.
I guess that was the minute I missed.
I was like, wait, are we going to explain that? And nope, he just runs through the
somewhat
wall.
established by the way that Drax is like beat him against the wall and he breaks the wall with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
and he still does,
but it was just so funny
fine.
that he just does it.
By the way,
without...
Ryan Gosling spends the entire movie with half his face bloody, and they keep cleaning it up, and then it keeps happening again.
Yeah,
like every scene, he has one side of it. He's like Harvey Dent.
He's bled more than like anybody in that franchise.
He spends half the movie looking like Harvey Dent, and it happens. And they keep cleaning it up, and then it happens again, over and over again. It's like
always the same side too.
It's really interesting how it keeps happening.
That's the weird part.
So the second movie has more interesting sci-fi concepts to delve into for modern audiences, but they're like extraneous and strapped on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I feel like the characters are more flat and underdeveloped in the second one, partly because it gives you so much airtime to like cinematic shots and stuff like that.
It doesn't give me as much time with characters. It gives me a lot more time with Ryan Gosling contemplating, which is supposed to be my time to contemplate to a degree, I think, as well. I think I'm supposed to also be trying to figure out the mystery of what's going on here, but it's too long. I don't need that much time.
Like when I look at the sheer cast of characters and I think about which ones get developed the most, it's mostly just Ryan Gosling.
I don't know. I think the Chief is kind of at least like the second most laid out.
And she dies pretty early too.
She doesn't die she dies when Harrison Ford shows up.
She was a neat character, but she's in like 3 scenes?
She was in several scenes. She's like the first person you talk to in the movie besides Ryan Gosling. He talks to her and a couple of other stuff because she makes jokes to him. She has personality where she looks at him and is like, "You fucked up. What happened?" And she's like, "I'm not paying for that." And it's like
to contrast the two movies. The first movie ends with somebody giving a speech about his own death as he fades away.
Yeah.
And the second movie ends with somebody trying to choke somebody else to death because they think their ideology is right and your ideology is wrong.
Yeah.
And then one of them wins.
Well, it still both
like,
ends.
huh.
It still both ends with one person just kind of sitting there slowly dying.
Yeah. But that's not the climax of like the struggle though.
No.
Where the first one it is, the second one it's like the epilogue.
It's weird that it happened. I almost thought it was going to happen before they left. Like I thought it was going to be I
thought he was going to get swept away in the water and just be gone.
I thought Harrison was going to pull him out of the water and like he's just going to do that thing where he's
Jack.
Where he no. God. I thought he was going to do that. God damn it! That reminds me of the voice that Harrison does in the first Blade Runner when he talks to Snake Girl.
Oh god.
Yeah, but anyways, I thought Harrison was going to pull him out.
You'd be surprised what people will do to get a look at the changing lady.
Yeah. You'll be surprised what people do to get a look at a changing lady. And then he looks at a changing lady.
It's a cross of him doing a voice and also voice recordings just sounding different in the 80s movies.
He's using like a weirder mic, like a weirder boom microphone because it's like a shittier quality than what we have now. But he's also doing a weird voice that definitely doesn't sound like his voice. And then he just does more rapey things, like just stare at a naked woman as she's like, he already barged in on her and then he's standing there.
Enter a changing room on false pretenses and then force someone to kiss you. I'm like, this is a weird movie for Harrison Ford.
But so what do you think?
I'm just saying that the second one is it feels less character driven aside from just Ryan Gosling, like that, because of the running time I feel misspent.
Yeah.
And so I find it less immediately compelling than the first one. And neither of them are really my favorite movies, but the first one I feel like will be remembered more, while the second one is like, I feel like the second one is a cool follow-up that it didn't feel like a cynical garbage recreation that we keep getting constantly, but it didn't feel like Fury Road necessarily.
It wasn't shovel like Star Wars is. Star Wars is just shoveled out shit.
But then you have like way more cynical and also not way more garbage attempts like Ghost in the Shell, where it's like we're just gonna make this happen.
Well, Ghost in the Shell is
a shit how it turns out.
Though that's a difference. An adaptation is always garbage, usually, unless it's like if it's not an adaptation of a book, it's always garbage. So movie or video games and anime are.
I mean, it's ultimately it's supposed to be a remake of another movie. Ultimately, that's the premise.
Because we just took all of them and pushed them and made them kiss.
I think the ways that Ghost in the Shell is bad isn't interestingly different in any way compared to like what's bad about like the RoboCop remake and shit like that.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
I don't think it being an anime originally was why.
I think a little bit. I think it gives the characters more flexibility to do things that are harder to do on camera.
Like sit on a boat completely static and stare into the middle distance and talk.
Yeah, and not have to like be weird about it. But in any case, the point is that I think
how long have we been talking for? Because I feel like it's been in the
2 hours.
Jesus Christ.
We're trying to go for the runtime of the movie.
Fucking enjoy.
Enjoy it.
People have probably been really frustrating with how meandering it is because they're trying to, at the beginning, gauge how much we do or don't like each movie, and they're like trying to use all the arguments we do as like fuel for how we feel about the movie.
Yeah.
They have to dismantle each one. When half of this is like, because the Spoilercast is not a review.
No.
In many ways, we're just shooting the shit.
We're shooting the shit.
Because like, there's a bunch of funny little topics to talk about.
Yeah.
And they're not always the reason we do or don't not like a movie.
But I mean,
we
I
both
don't
like
know.
the first movie, and we both like the second movie less.
I agree with you.
Right?
I agree with your points. I will be honest with you. The more we talk about the second one, the more I'm forgetting about it. It's like leaving my brain the longer I haven't seen it. Whereas the first one, I can still clearly remember bright as day. And I watched that in the beginning. I watched it this morning.
You watched both of them today.
Yeah, I watched the first one first, and then I saw another movie after that. And I still remember the first one more clearly.
That's a lot in one day.
It is. But we also then just talked about it for 2 hours. So I basically dedicated my life to Blade Runner today.
It's a weird day. It's a weird-ass day.
I hope it ends. I'm tired of Blade Runner.
It's a weird direction to go in. Well, thanks for watching like always, guys. Sequel's fine. It's fine. I just wish it was shorter. Like this review.
Wait for the final
You
cut.
actually looked frozen.
Yeah.
You actually look like I had to look at myself in the webcam
I had to check if it didn't
to
freeze.
see if the webcam froze or not because I was concerned.
I'm a replica.
See you guys next time. Sorry for wasting your time.
Yeah, sorry that we both just have a mild feeling about the movie.
You guys have been waiting for us to review something we don't hate.
And it happened.
It happened.
Tune in next time when we review, I don't know, Cinderella 3.
Blade Runner 3.5 HD Remix.
Or Thor Ragnarok.
Maybe. You're going to get to see Hulk again.
Or Justice League.
You can complain about how Hulk's funny again or something. And
Or
you hate Hulk being funny.
Or maybe Coco?
Coco? What are we talking about?
Pixar movie? Coco or something?
What?
You see the posters for
I don't know what you're talking about, but we're going to stop the video now. Bye.